Y'all are in for a surprise. Yes, we are live on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get the show started. Coffee in Tow is an interactive world news podcast, a dynamic and engaging live show that streams across multiple internet radio stations worldwide. This podcast brings you real time news updates, in depth analysis, and interactive discussions on global events, making you a part of the conversation no matter where you are. With a diverse range of expert guests and listener participation, it's your go to source for staying informed and connected to the world. Coffee in Tow is brought to you in part by Lormel Skin Food. Log on to lormelskinfood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grand Coffee House. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome. If you're on YouTube, good morning. Don't get used to this. I had serious anxiety attacks this morning. It took me forever. And and then when I get it all right, I say, okay, I'm going to do YouTube with my face. My ring light goes out. So the face is a little dark. So I opened up the windows, but it is what it is. So RoSolo, you'll be proud of me. I stepped out of my comfort zone.
I am very proud of you.
But listen, let me ask you.
Woohoo!
RoSolo, you're in the Matrix really bad. You're really bad in the Matrix. Really bad. Javed, no woohoo. Listen, this is mental torture.
I understand, but once you jump off that cliff, you have nowhere else to land. You know what I mean? So you just do it.
Well, I'm there. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be there today. This is my first day, and it is it's too much. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, RoSolo. Loud and clear.
Girl, don't you look cute today? Your face is glowing. What? Going that moment. Congratulations now. All right.
You have to at least be on until I get to the office and see you.
She's fine. Just don't look at the camera. That's what I used to do. Just don't look at the camera.
I'm trying my best not to RoSolo. Well, the good thing is that once I bring up the runner show, I'm not going to see myself, but I think I'm going to forget that I am actually
you will forget.
But let me ask a question. And I want an honest answer.
Mm-hmm.
When we were growing up, we would listen to the radio, right? And a lot of people would tune in and listen on the radio. So what is the fascination with having to see someone's face to decide if you're going to support the person, yes or no? Explain that to me. I'm trying to understand.
I just think it's a change in times. We have more resources. We didn't have those resources growing up.
Right.
So they couldn't show their face. We didn't have YouTube or, FaceTime or what's the other one? We didn't have any of those resources when we were growing up. I think with the time changing and technology advancing, we have more resources and we're able to do different things. And people like to see who they're looking at, who they're listening to. They like to have a visual. Some people are audio, they like the visual. And you're cute, so you can't show your face, no matter what about it.
Listen, this is stressful. That's all I'm gonna say. It is super stressful. Hey,
Adesoji, good morning.
Yeah, good afternoon. When are we showing our face?
She's showing her face right now.
No.
So
hello.
Let me say this, and then I gotta go. Just do not look at the camera.
Hello, where's my YouTube?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, bro. Go ahead, because I know you gotta run.
Yeah, do not look at the camera. Just keep on doing what you're doing. We won't have any more conversation about it. Adesoji don't give you a hard time for about 2 more seconds, and then that's it. We go to the regular run of show. Okay?
Okay.
Wave back. I'm waving. Wave back.
I'm not waving at you. I'm not waving at you, Addison. Thank you, RoSolo. Thank you.
Moments.
Yes.
You have to remember, before TV, families used to sit and watch the radio, right?
Watch the radio.
True.
They used to sit around in the living room and look at the radio while they were listening. That's the only difference. Yes.
Okay. If you say so.
Am I the only one that young here? Well, no, they did have TV, but the TV did turn off when I was growing up, just to let y'all know how young I am.
Oh, Lord. Ja. So, all right. Whew, let me breathe through this one. Listen, it was torture. So, yesterday, after we were able to, and I want to say thank you to DJ Naturalist of QMZ Radio, and a big thank you to DJ Simple of Jano Radio. I want to say it was about 2 hours, almost 2 hours yesterday, trying to do the workaround and the brainstorming and all of that, so that we would be able to stream live on internet radio while live on YouTube. So we got that ironed out, fixed, and I'm so happy for that, because since last week Wednesday, we were ending the radio stream at 9:30. So now we are able to pick up the pieces and carry on and move forward. And yesterday, DJ Simple was like, moments. Yeah. From the tone, I heard the tone, I knew exactly what he was going to say. He say, you have to do something, though. They say, yeah. Say, you have to go show your face. They say, yeah. Give me a minute. Have some patience with me. Me not ready yet. Truly, I wasn't ready. But anyway, after that was done, and as I was putting the runner show together last night, I put the camera on and I said, something, let me see. Let me tell you something. Me sweat. My heart are race. And even though people will say, well, you're on TikTok. You put your face on TikTok. Listen, that's a 15-second video with 100 takes. Y'all don't understand. The pressure is what's around, right? So when you compare 15 seconds to 4 hours of people just staring at you, oh my God. Well, y'all do it out there in the real world. But anyway, baby steps. Yes, Adesoji. Baby steps, they say. So I'm taking the steps. All right, so let me go ahead and let us get started. First, so thank you all for your support. I appreciate each and every one of you. Do I appreciate the pushing me over the ledge? No, but I still appreciate all of you.
Wow, I can see you.
This man is like, wow, I can see you. So I'm going to take RoSolo's advice, and I am going to pretend that the camera isn't there. I am just going to ignore it. Yeah. Go ahead, Adesoji.
She looked good. She looked good, don't she, Adesoji? Good morning, Adesoji. Good afternoon, Adesoji.
She looks like the cute sister across the road.
She fine. She fine, ain't she? Marlon, tell him, Marlon.
Boost me up. Let me feel good, Marlon. I sleep. Boost me up.
It's sexy. Wagwan.
God boost me up. I need the level of confidence. We need the Rosalie confidence. And if you know who Rosalie is, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so let me get serious. Let me get busy. Because we do have a lot of stores to run through. 29 stores to run through today, actually. So once again, I want to say a big thank you to everyone listening online, QMZRadio.com, JanoRadio.com, and MadMusicHouse.com. Also, welcome to everyone watching on YouTube. Thank you to my studio audience, courtesy of fan base. Appreciate you. Hey, Sean. Good morning, Sean. I'm doing something different today. Go to your
What are you
YouTube.
doing?
Go to your YouTube and you'll find out.
Okay, I'll go now. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, family.
Morning, fam. Morning. All right. First story, we head on over to Guyana. Let me go ahead and pin this there. All right. So this story has a phrase that you are not too fond of, but we are going to go ahead and talk about it nonetheless. All right. On courtesy of Caribbean, GeorgeLoopNews.com. 50 students at Westmoreland Secondary School in Grenada are now equipped with the knowledge and tools to tackle food insecurity. Following a training session organized by the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program on January 10, the training focused on food security, food safety, and sustainable agricultural practices, empowering students to address local food challenges while developing valuable life skills. The session was led by Kenley Edwards, the Climate Smart Agriculture Coordinator, who has extensive expertise in food safety and quality assurance. Edwards highlighted the global issues surrounding food insecurity, explaining how factors such as climate change, poverty, conflict, and inadequate farming methods contribute to millions of people around the world lacking reliable access to nutritious food. In addition to raising awareness about the critical issue of food insecurity, the students learned practical solutions, including the establishment of a school garden. How do you feel about that, Ja? I know you don't like the word food insecurity.
Congratulations.
She said congratulations. That's it, John. Nothing else. Okay.
No, that's it.
That's it.
Well, I somewhat understand why Javed would take exception to the word or to the combined words of food insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this is the West talking down at people.
Right.
They have a phrase for everything, even though most of those problems have been engineered from outside. Like most of the former colonies had some sort of settler colonialism. By that I mean the imposition of people who are foreign to the place,
mm-hmm.
who will then come in, take majority of the so-called vital land, and corner it and start producing things that feeds the West,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the local population. So when you have less land to play with,
Mm-hmm.
then it's highly likely that you have challenges with regards to how you produce food, because you not only are you having to produce for the local population, now you're also having to produce for export
Mm-hmm.
in order to finance your economy. But bearing in mind, certain rich aspects of your land territory has been taken out of your hands, because now they're owned by either a corporation from abroad,
Mm-hmm.
or from one landed person who was imposed on the people hundreds of years ago. And so, yeah, but it's a welcome development to have them looking at it much more focused. Let's use that word. But again, here comes the thing: when you start signing agreements with a country to feed you, I'll leave you with Sankara's famous saying that he who feeds you controls you.
Controls you, right?
Unfortunately, I yield.
Unfortunately, you're absolutely true about that. So I get it, Ja. I honestly understand where you're coming from, and I stand with you on that point. All right. Next article. We're still in Grenada. The Grenada government signs 13 cooperation agreements with China. Let's dig into this one. Let's hear what this one says. Hi, Mr. Mitchell. The government of Grenada, that's the Honorable, let me get it right, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dickon Mitchell. His face is on the article, so forgive me. All right, according to Caribbean.loopnews.com, The government of Grenada has officially signed 13 cooperation agreements with the People's Republic of China. The agreements cover a wide range of areas, including agriculture, energy and the environment, renewable energy, arts, culture and tourism, and the blue economy. This achievement marks the 20th anniversary of the resumption of diplomatic relations and solidifies China's commitment to supporting the economy and the people of the Tri-Island state. And I'm going to read a quote from his speech. The resumption of our diplomatic relations in 2005 was marked by a journey defined by collaboration, mutual understanding, and shared aspirations. Today, we can reflect on this journey and affirm that our partnership has yielded remarkable benefits for the people of Grenada and China, significantly contributing to our national development. The agreements were signed by Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development, Joseph Andal, and the Minister for Economic Development, Planning and Cooperatives, Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources, Lennox Andrews. Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell welcomed this significant achievement for the people of Grenada. China is moving differently. I mean, I'm not mad at China. Do what you gotta do. It's all business. We don't care about what you want to do in your country. You know, I saw a clip. I don't know how true it is, Adesoji, but I saw a clip and I want to believe I saved it. Let me see if I can find it. I came across it on TikTok where it is a post, and in the post it's a picture of the what is his name, Jinping, saying that he's going to see to it that all the countries pretty much that were colonized get back everything that's owed to them. Something along those lines. And I'm just, what you call it, summing it up.
Well,
I'm trying to find
the thing about Xi Jinping is President Xi Jinping of China is he's very intentional about what he does. And usually it's first China first, obviously, than everything else. Now, in signing agreements with China, we also have to understand, we have to study China. And when I say we have to study China, it should come as no news to people in the government that China needs to grow at the rate of between 8 and 9% every year. So the question for our government is, how does your agreement or any trading undertakings that you have with China in a particular year, how does it feed into that 9%? If you know how it feeds into that 9%, you might be able to get a better deal. Because if you go to China now and say, okay, for oranges coming from Grenada, if you need it, give us 20 million a year. China will not bargain with you. Because China, as long as you're within that threshold of what they consider to be a fair deal, right? But you know they need 9% growth. So what does that 9% growth contribute in terms of their orange juice industry or whatever derivatives they get from oranges? Understand that, then you may be able to play more. And so you can then extrapolate that idea to everything else that you deal on a daily basis with China. But for some reason, we mention a bucket, a base price, and that's it. And then the money is, in some cases, lost in transit. In some cases, is unaccounted for. In some cases, ends up in the West and is returned to you only for it to disappear again. You know, I mean, let's just be much more conversant about how we deal with China.
Yes. Okay. So I found the post, and it says it was on TikTok. We'll have nothing to do with USD, which is backed by nothing, just a piece of paper. China says BRICS will restore all nations to their rightful indigenous people, so everyone can have peace on earth to be colonized after the USA dollar falls. Signed, Chinese. However he pronounces his name. Yeah. James, morning, you got proud of me. Head on over to YouTube, James. Head on over to YouTube. I'm gonna want to hear not no tell about James. Yes, welcome. Mimi at the bottom. You see, I'm doing better. I'm learning to scroll up so I can see everyone who is at the bottom. Thank you for coming to Coffee Too. All right. Adesoji, boost me up. Go on, boost me up. Go on, boost me up.
I just got to say, I'm loving this live stream.
Thank you, Sean. Nerves are killing me, but thank you.
She looked beautiful, right, Sean?
She does.
And she's live. And she's live on radio today as well.
Yeah, we're live everywhere. So the thing done up. All right, so don't forget to hit the subscribe to the Coffee and Toe YouTube channel and turn on your notifications. So we will be going live. I can't promise in the sun. I got some face every day, but we will be going live weekdays 9:35 a.m. on YouTube. All right, next story. We head on over to Grenada. No, I'm sorry, we did Grenada. Now it's Haiti. More than 1 million Haitians displaced due to gang violence. And this article courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. The number of Haitians fleeing their homes due to gang violence has tripled over the past year, surpassing 1 million people, according to the United Nations. Haiti, already plagued by decades of political instability, has seen the situation worsen in recent years as gangs have gained strength, further exasperating the crisis. The latest data from the UN's International Organization for Migration, IOM, reveals that over 1 million people, many of whom have been displaced multiple times, are enduring the hardships of an escalating humanitarian crisis. IOM spokesman Kennedy Omondi reported that in December 2023, around 315,000 people were displaced due to gang violence in Haiti. 1 year since then, we have seen the number tripled to over 1 million people who have now been displaced because of said gang violence. The majority of displaced individuals come from the capital, Port-au-Prince, where internal displacement has surged by over 87% over the past year. The Internal Organization for Migration warned that this crisis is being driven by relentless gang violence, the collapse of essential services, particularly healthcare, and worsening food insecurity. We've had so many conversations. Morning, James. We've had so many conversations about Haiti and up to yesterday. You know, I think we have exhausted Haiti and everything that's going on there. Hey, Drake, good morning. Yeah, I think we have exhausted the situation, or we have had exhausting conversations as it relates to Haiti. I don't know what it's going to take for things to change. I don't know. We just hold our breath or not. Just wait to see. Because at the end of the day, we know who holds the handle and who holds the blade. We know. But anyway, as them say, it is what it is. We're still in Haiti, as we have another story from there. Let me go ahead and pin it on YouTube. And thank you all for your kind words in the comments. I appreciate you. All right, next up, former Haitian a police officer, has been charged with smuggling guns to Haiti from the U.S. Why am I laughing at this article? I don't know. But anyway, according to CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com, U.S. authorities have arrested Jean Robert Casimir, a 52-year-old former Haitian National Police officer and U.S. citizen, on charges of smuggling firearms to Haiti. Casimir, who was detained on December 18, is accused of purchasing at least 87 firearms between October 2021 and May 2024, some of which reportedly ended up in the hands of Haitian gangs. A criminal complaint filed by Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, with the District Court of Columbia details multiple charges against Casimir, including smuggling, conspiracy, and violations of the Export Control Reform Act of 2018. The facts in this affidavit are based on my personal observations, training, and experience, as well as information obtained from other agents, witnesses, and agencies, particularly the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's according to HSI Special Agent Ivan Ratcliffe. So can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Oh, jeez. Welcome, CM Henderson. Blessings and peace and blessings to you too. Thank you for coming in. Yeah. Tasha, morning. Tasha, you'll be proud of me. I am doing Facebook Live. You'll see my face. Yeah, I don't know what to face. Not Facebook, so YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Get some cancel. Facebook long time. I'm so cancel. Instagram too. But anyway, yeah. Let me ask a question. Why is it they're going to make you feel that illegal firearms only end up in Haiti by individuals? Them not end up there another way too. It's only one way them reach. There's only one set of people sending the guns over there.
Let me tap this onto the question you just posed. Are we saying to the world that is listening, with all their right senses, that the problem we have in Haiti is down to 87 guns?
Okay, yeah, that's a better way for you to put it. Thank you for putting it that way. I appreciate your sorting it out there for me, pretty it up there for me, make it sound right there for me.
So, no, the question is, who allowed him to buy 87 guns?
And some people will say, be careful what you're saying. What are you trying to insinuate? What are you alluding to? I don't think we have to, bear it out there. I don't think we have to be very explicit with our thoughts. History has taught us certain things, hasn't it? So you want to tell me that nobody was able to detect them leaving the ports here in the U.S., and nobody detected them entering the country of Haiti?
Let's say on the Asian side, the customs is lax, right?
Uh-huh.
And 87 guns has gotten in.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure those 87 guns would need more than 87 bullets. I yield.
Let me ask a question, and I'm bear with me here. When the United Nations goes in, when they have their boots on the ground, all the weapons that they go there with, do all the weapons leave? Does my question make sense? Just wondering.
Let's play even a devil's advocate. Let's say they leave. Let's say the guns leave. Still talking about the 87 guns because that's the only thing we have. That's the reason why
we're stick with that because that's the only evidence we have right now, right?
So 87 bullets goes in. 87 charges are left. The guns are expended. How do we track the other 87 that then comes after that?
I'm done. Make me keep it moving, God. You're gone too far now. You're gone too far.
Because the only problem we have in Haiti is only 87 guns. If only we can get rid of that 87 guns. That's all we need. 87.
All right. Let me move it right along. On to Jamaica we go, our neighbor. Oh boy, next up, Jamaican police rather, seize US $500 million worth of cocaine in St. Andrew. No, me try to wrap my head around this figure. 500 million, that can't right. Almost 500,000. But either way, it's still a lot. So let me go back and double check this. Okay, US 500,000. I got it wrong. Please forgive me. So, according to Caribbean National Weekly.com, Jamaican authorities have made a massive breakthrough in the fight against narcotics trafficking. Seizing cocaine. Can you say cocaine on YouTube, James? No. Adesoji? Or do we say illicit drugs? Anyway.
Illicit.
Okay, seizing illicit drugs valued at over US $500,000. Okay. Which has a Jamaican value of $80 million. And this happened during a raid at an apartment complex in Charlton Court, St. Andrew. Oh, let me take it up to St. Andrew. On January 8, 2025, around 10:50 a.m., the police anti-narcotics team intercepted a gray Toyota Hiace vehicle at the entrance of the complex. This investigation led officers to an apartment where a search uncovered 122 parcels of illicit substances, weighing approximately 295 pounds. The primary suspect, 63-year-old Alan Patrick Constable, the property manager, was arrested and charged under the Dangerous Drugs Act. His charges include possession of cocaine, illicit substance. Listen, man, this interchanging of words are going to mad me. But anyway, we learn. His charges include possession of illicit substances, trafficking, conspiracy to traffic illicit substances, and possession of criminal property. Law enforcement officials have called the seizure a significant blow to organize. Calling it a significant blow. All right, read, stay focused, read, girl, read. Just read. Law enforcement officials have called the seizure a significant blow to organized drug trafficking operations. This operation sends a clear message that law enforcement agencies will continue to vigorously pursue and prosecute those involved in illicit activities. And yes, it is a significant blow. I was just being facetious. It is a significant blow to organized drug trafficking operations, indeed. But that is, to me, just a tip of the iceberg. But carry on, Adesoji. Carry on. Go ahead, Soji. Go ahead.
The use of English is very, very important in this case. Significant blow suggests the seizure was huge. A blow would suggest the operations of the so-called illicit narcotics kingpins have been impacted. What else? What other word did they use in that? At the beginning, there was a phrase there. Hold on. Oh yeah.
Which one? In the very beginning?
Yes, the very beginning. The first three lines. Just the first three lines.
Jamaican authorities have made a massive breakthrough in the fight against.
Thank you very much. That's the word. Massive breakthrough. So you're telling me Jamaica, $500,000 worth of drugs is a massive breakthrough that will okay. Are we talking about 2025 or 2024 or 2020? When? Do you know the amount of drugs that passes through the Caribbean on a daily basis?
A lot of it we don't hear about. A lot of it.
This is like stopping a Uber Eats delivery. This is sorry. I were to turn around and say it was for personal use. 62. Hey, I yield.
Welcome everyone. Just joining us on Fanbase. Thank you for coming through. We are live on YouTube, live on QMCRadio.com, JohnORadio.com, and MadMusicHouse.com.
I agree with Adesoji. That does not sound like a huge haul to me.
That's why I said it's the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. That's it. All right. In our next article, we keep it moving. We're still in Jamaica. Jamaica's ban on single-use plastic food containers take effect, and consumers are urged to comply. This article, courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. Jamaicans are being reminded that the ban on the distribution and use of single-use plastic food containers took effect on January 9. As a result, items made from polyethylene, polypropylene, or polylactic acid are now being prohibited. Oh, wow. So you understand, now that we have those three components, folks, you understand why they say it's not good to warm your food in any plastic container, especially the single-use ones that you purchase food in. Good for warm up your food in the microwave. Take the food out of them and put in a glass container if possible. All right. But let's keep it moving.
1 second before you go.
Yeah.
On the single it is important people actually understand this. You see, when you lift your plastic up, you will see a triangle, right? In that triangle is a number written 1, 3, 5. It means you cannot use that plastic more than once. If it's just 1, if it's 3, only 3 times. If it's 5 times, you can only heat food in it for 3 times and not 4th and 5th. That is when it starts start releasing carcinogenics into your food when you're using it in the microwave. I yield.
Thank you for highlighting that point. Thank you so much.
Go
ahead, Sean. Go right ahead.
And I question the wording that they used in their article. The word I really question is that they urge people. So what's the consequence if you don't follow it?
So we're gonna finish the article and then we can see what they say. Let's read the rest of the article, Sean, and hear what them say. All right, give me 1 second. One second. Let me respond to something here. Bear with me. Whee, the pressure. Okay, here we go. All right, so the restriction prohibits the importation, distribution, manufacturing, and sale of food boxes made wholly or partially from these materials. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, expressed confidence that the 6-month period leading up to the ban allowed for adequate consultation and sensitization with private sector stakeholders and relevant regulatory authorities, ensuring a smooth transition. While the government remains steadfast and committed to managing the island's waste, we commend those private sector stakeholders who have wholeheartedly embraced the government's policy position in respect of the management of this non-biodegradable product and has made available to the public the environmentally friendly alternatives. Minister Matthew Samuda emphasized that the Jamaican government's policy on single-use plastics is being actively pursued to protect public health and the environment. He urged the public to opt for environmentally friendly alternatives to single-use plastic packaging, stressing the importance of the shift to safeguard health, lives, and livelihoods. So, me looking down to see what violators. Here we go, Sean. I think we have an answer to your question now. So violators of this new order could face fines of up to $50,000 and or imprisonment for up to 2 years. And this is outlined in Section 32.5 of the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act. It is important to note that Parliament is currently debating a significant increase in penalties under the NRCA Act. Ooh, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, which, if approved, will apply to these offenses. All right, so if you are found in breach of this act, you could face fines of up to $50,000 and or imprisonment for up to 2 years. All right. Additionally, breaches related to the importation of single-use plastics will be prosecuted under the Trade Order, Plastic Packaging Materials Prohibition Order, with the possibility of a maximum fine of $2 million and or imprisonment.
So pretty much comply or face a fine or possible imprisonment.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hold on one second, Sean. Hold on. Lex, I'm not sure. Could you please let us know who you are in the chat? We welcome you. Please let us know who you are in the chat. I see your hand raised. Just identify yourself, please. Thank you. Carry on, Sean. Carry on. And Adesoji, I have to step away one quick second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Sean. You were. What were you saying? You said something.
I'm just saying that they just need to change the messaging on that because that's misleading.
Yeah, it's also, I think the messaging should also highlight the health implications for continuous use of said plastics. One, I mean, if one were to say carcinogenic to the average person, you might not be able to relate it to what you're talking about. But when you mention the word cancers, then maybe that might drive it home. And also look at societies where they banned it and, sort of bring people in as to why they banned it. I know Nigeria did the banning 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And the pivot has been to wrap their foods in banana leaves, or if they want to continue, storage, use what's it called? Wooden wares. Use wooden wares, and and that creates another industry. There'll be obviously, again, we have to try as much as possible to ensure that the wooden industry is also sustainable, because if you flip people over, you don't want them start taking from another industry, another area of your environment and impacting it negatively. So again, generally just educate people on what's the importance to the pivot. And then I'm sure people, once they tell them, it's in their own best interest, they're more than likely to, acquiesce to whatever it is you're telling them. But that kind of language is a bit encouraging them that, not when the impact is on the entire society. Because once cancer spreads, then it's an issue.
Yeah, I think it's one of those sayings that you trap more flies with honey than vinegar.
Yep.
And like I said, I think especially from the cancer standpoint, that's I think that's the better messaging to go with, in my opinion.
Yeah. And and again, really, it's not even aside from the health benefits, the environmental impact of those single-use plastics is not biodegradable. It just sits there. That you can't burn it, because to do so means you're going to expel some gases into the atmosphere. You can bury it because it's going to impact your water supply. So what are you going to do with it? And then you can't recycle it. So you're stuck with it. So the better we stop, the better. The earlier we stop, the better.
Agreed. Thank you so much for carrying on for me. I am back. I had to refill my coffee cup. Oh, by the way, Tasha, thank you. I'm using my cup. Love my cup. All right. So, where are we? Oh, next up, St. Vincent. We move on to St. Vincent. Okay, so we have a comment in the chat. Let me go ahead and read that. ME says microwave safe plastic number 2 and number 5, but I try not to use plastic in the microwave at all. Yeah, that is something we want to ensure we do. Let me ask a question. Okay, so Lex J, I see your hand raised. I think we please introduce yourself. Let us know who you are in the chat. Yeah, we are live on internet radio as well as live on YouTube. So please introduce yourself, and we would greatly appreciate that. We welcome you to the space. All right, next up, St. Vincent is where we go. St. Vincent presents EC $1.85 billion 2025 budget without tax increases. I like this one. According to CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com, Minister of Finance Camilo Gonsalves has announced that the... Hold on a second. Stick up in. Gonsalves. Who is the that name sound familiar. This is a stop, James. This is a stop, not true.
I think it's his son wife, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, she is Jamaican. She good with money.
Moran for all right, let me keep it moving. Focus moment. Focus for the people them story. Okay, let's get into it. Minister of Finance Camilo Gonsalves has announced that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will implement its EC $1.85 billion budget for 2025, and they're doing it without increasing taxes or fees. Round of applause, round of applause. The commitment was made during his budget presentation to Parliament, where he also highlighted the government's achievements in 2024, despite the challenges posed by Hurricane Beryl. He said, when speaking to Parliament on Monday, "We are already recovering, we are already rising again, and we are energetically building a stronger, more resilient, more inclusive, more sustainable St. Vincent and the Grenadines." The finance minister emphasized that 2024 showcased the government's dedication to addressing urgent needs while pursuing long-term development goals. He highlighted the swift response to Hurricane Beryl, which directly affected 19,000 people, describing the government's actions as both tireless and compassionate. While noting the extraordinary efforts required to balance disaster recovery with completing developmental priorities, Gonsalves said, "This government has worked hard, has worked smart, and has worked well in the people's interests." The 2025 budget allocates EC $127 million to disaster recovery and reconstruction, targeting those affected by both Hurricane Beryl and the 2021 eruption of Lac Frere volcano. Well, we have to dig a little deeper. I can't in it right there. So listen to this. We have a breakdown. And I'm sure the folks in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and those across the diaspora will appreciate the breakdown as well. So let's get into it. Salary increases, a 2.5% salary hike for civil servants, completing a negotiated 7% increase over 3 years. Infrastructure development, construction of over 70 road stretches, which is approximately 125 million EC dollars. The completion of the 668 million Kingstown cargo port, and significant advancements on the Arnos Vale Acute Care Hospital. There is housing and social assistance. There's going to be the construction of 1,000 homes for those affected by disasters, and the distribution of EC $30 million in aid to farmers, fishers, small businesses, and vulnerable citizens. Then there is some dedication to education and youth development, building new schools, providing 2,600 laptops for students, launching a mathematics support program, and introducing a youth volunteerism initiative. All right, I'm loving that. Sports and culture is going to get some attention. Starting semi-professional netball and football leagues, supporting Olympic athletes, and launching a national orchestra. And finally, tourism growth, beginning construction of the Marriott Resort at Mount Wynn and welcoming a record number of visitors. The budget also emphasizes healthcare improvements, with plans to construct 11 clinics nationwide and introduce free transportation services for people with disabilities. That's your wife's island, no, James? Morning, Geely. Geely, you're gonna be proud of me. We're on YouTube Live, but actually the on camera on YouTube Live. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
Yeah, it's my island too. So
you say said you got your citizenship?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So he's actually like, based on some of the research that I'm doing, he's actually one of the, or I would say, the most popular prime minister in his own country. Because I was surprised that when you go to Barbados, there are people that don't like Mia Mottley as much as I like her. I was very
Are
shocked.
you serious?
Yep. Yeah.
So let me no. You can't set that and move on. Can we push a pin, stick a pin right there? What is the reason for them not, or what are the reasons for them not like? What's the primary one for them not liking her?
I don't know that. I don't know. I think it's more political, like people from the opposition side, like, oh, you have JLP and PNP. I think it's more of that, because I haven't heard any good reason, because like they're saying that people are not doing good there, but based on all of the numbers, it's the best performing island in the Caribbean, in the British Caribbean, right? So I think it's probably more political.
Okay.
But based on the numbers, it's the best performing.
So is it that people are not happy with her performance, or what is it? Because to me, from the outside looking in, right, and those of us who are not in Barbados and not there on a day-to-day basis, it is easy for us to have our or to form our perception or ideas, what have you, based on what we're seeing in the news. And so far, I haven't heard anything negative. So I'm quite surprised that yeah, people wouldn't like her.
Yeah, I was surprised too, but I don't know, but Gonzal seemed to, based on like all of my discussion, and even when I talk about him on videos, like overwhelmingly, like I would say about 80%. The only person I know don't like him is my father-in-law.
And what's his reason, if you don't mind? I'm really curious.
He's a communist. Like, he's there too long.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
And the thing is, he's grooming his family to take over, his son and his son's wife.
Oh, wow.
So people that don't like him, they point out that. But one of the things with him is he's very charismatic, and he's like a people person. So like, he knows which strings to pull and which button to press.
He's so, like, charismatic. You describe him as charismatic.
Yeah. So even the relationship with him and Vibes Cartel and stuff like that, that's the type of thing that, and he's down to earth. I have to say that he's very down to earth.
Okay.
Very down to earth, but yeah, people just think that he's overstayed his time, because I think this year election would be like his 5th or something like that, which would make him the longest prime minister in the history of the Caribbean, apart from Cuba. But yeah.
All right. Well, if he works for the country, he works for the country, right? If his actions are beneficial to the country, I mean, them say if it not brought no fixing, also. That them say. All right. Next up, we're still in the Caribbean. Yeah, we have one more story here. It is time for two way up. Beg your pardon. All right, Dungana the Islands, our features travel and lifestyle segment. How Nevis is becoming a top tourist destination and a major regional player. This one courtesy of Mr. President. Thank you for sending this story over. Appreciate you enough. So we can close out the EC one. All right. So according to Forbes.com, straddling the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean, Nevis is an exclusive tropical island that's looking to transform into a regional hub of excellence. The island maintains its exclusive and private atmosphere while priming its citizens and local economy to provide the region's best guest experiences. Nevis is now seeking significant foreign investment to maintain its appeal and drive economic growth. Nevis has a rich history. While Nevis is usually not the first place Caribbean visitors think of touring, the island has a rich history and was known as the Queen of the Caribbean due to its thriving sugar economy in previous centuries. Okay. Was it just the other day? Charlestown, the island's capital, is home to the multiple Georgian-style buildings and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city's heritage dates back to the 1660s, when it was the seat of the Leeward Islands government. It's also famous for being the birthplace of Alexander Hamilton, the founding father of the United States. Further, Nevis is proud of its long standing tourism industry that prevents overcrowding, allowing guests to enjoy an old Caribbean culture. Moreover, the island's population exceeding 13,000 residents is friendly and has a young population with a literacy rate, listen to this, exceeding 95%. This population's potential is waiting to be fully unlocked. Premier Mark Bransley is building upon this foundation to boost not only tourism, but also the local economy. Nevis is blessed with beauty, a great deal of human talent, and natural resources, says Brantley. Our economic progress has been strong in recent years, but I'm working towards a real game changer for the island. Folks of Nevis share this ambition, so my administration must deliver. Awesome. Love it. Nevis. Wow. Who's been there? I've never been. Never been, I will admit. I have a lot of traveling to do, a whole lot. Um, who's been to Nevis? What can you say about your experience there? I didn't realize only 13,000 people. And Nevis is a part of St. Kitts and Nevis. Go ahead, James. Yeah, you're the traveler.
Well, no, I didn't get to go there. I was supposed to go because one of my friends is from there.
Mm-hmm.
But what is interesting about Nevis is, like, unlike Trinidad and Tobago, Nevis, I think they try as much to distance themselves from St. Kitts.
Why?
I don't know. For whatever reason, whenever you meet someone from Nevis, you'll never hear them mention St. Kitts. They're just like, I'm from Nevis. Like,
hold on,
as
wait.
if
You
it's...
send me to Google. Hold on there. We Google there. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Continue talking.
yeah. So, like, everybody that I know from, it's very small. Because when I met, the first person I met from there, when I was in Bermuda, that time the population was about 10,000. And we used to joke about it, that the police, the person would drive the police, would drive the ambulance, drive the fire truck.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah,
say
so,
that one.
yeah, so, but that's the fascinating thing. Like, every time you meet someone from there, that they barely mention St. Kitts, they just say, like, I'm from they call it the Queen or the Pearl of the Caribbean, something like that, Nevis. But they don't normally mention St. Kitts. They
But
find it
James,
interesting.
but James, people from St. Kitts don't mention Nevis. I know several people from St. Kitts that don't say Nevis. They say they're from St. Kitts.
Really?
Yeah.
I need some research done, James. I need to have a clear understanding. Um, it's like I heard somebody say, when you talk about Trinidad and Tobago, if they say Trinidad and Tobago, them say you're from, was it here? If you say that, if you say Trinidad and Tobago, it means you come from Tobago. But if you say Trinidad, if them only say Trinidad, them Trinidad mainland them come from. That's where.
That's true.
That is
That's
so.
true.
Go figure. I don't know. But do you think Nevis? But who else knew that Alexander Hamilton was born in Nevis? I did not know that. I had no clue. Hold on there. So we Google there again. Google is my best friend. My real best friend. Yeah, Ro, we hearing you, man. We hear you. All right. Yeah. Charlestown, St. Kitts, and Nevis. You know the funny thing, when you type in the birthplace of Alexander Hamilton, the founding father of the United States, up pops St. Kitts and Nevis. Wow. Hmm. He was born there January 11th, 1755. Interesting. His father, where his father come from? I'm sorry, his father is Alexander Hamilton, was born January 11th, 1757 in Nevis, British West Indies. His father, James Hamilton, was a Scottish trader. His mother, a French woman named Rachel Fawcett Levine, was married to another man, John Michael Levine. Oh, no, dirty enough, I really said that. But anyway, okay, interesting. I learned something new today. We're always learning, and I appreciate that. All right. Next up, come make we talk. Come on my veranda, folks. So come on the veranda. Pull up a chair. Students standing up for their rights to be themselves. So I came across a video on TikTok, and I think last year we had a conversation as it relates to the Crown Act. And when we talk about the Crown Act, we are talking about the hair, right? Now, the Crown Act is something that has suppressed us mentally, I will say. In the Caribbean, self-acceptance is something that we struggled with because of the Crown Act. Thank you, Adesoji. Please tell the monarchy thank you, right? Thank you for damaging our self-esteem and us now in more recent years embracing and appreciating our natural born physical features, right? Okay, so let us go ahead and get into this one. I'm going to play a clip. Let me go ahead and turn up the mic so we can hear this article. Go ahead.
There's a video circulating on media of a Jamaican schoolboy from McGrath's High School alongside other students being barred from attending class due to their hairstyles. The school enforces a strict rule about hair cuts, requiring boys to maintain a faded look, and this has sparked a lot of debate. Now, I understand that schools in Jamaica, like in many other places, have their long-standing rules to maintain discipline and uniformity. However, we must ask ourselves, at what point does this rule start to suppress the personal identity of our students? School should be a place where young people not only learn about academics, but also explore and understand themselves, who they are, how they express their own identity, including how they wear their hair. It was disheartening to see some of the reactions online to this young boy's attempt to articulate his thoughts. Yes, he might have had a few stumbles in his delivery, but let's not overlook his courage. He was brave enough to stand up and advocate for himself and his peers. That's leadership right there. He's challenging a long-standing norm and questioning a policy that suggests certain ways of presenting oneself are, better, more acceptable than others. This issue goes beyond hair, just hairstyles. It taps into a deeper, more profound history that continues to affect us today. When we look back at the colonial era, many of the norms we still follow were imposed upon us. We were taught to believe that our natural features, our hair, our culture weren't proper or professional. It's this legacy of colonial influence that continues to shape the way many of us view ourselves today. I've personally experienced this. And a few years ago, my daughter was expelled from a prep school in Jamaica because of her dreadlocks. Later on, at a prominent high school in Kingston, she was reprimanded for wearing her hair in an afro and was told to tie it up. Meanwhile, other students with different hair types were allowed to wear their hair freely without any issues. Why is it that Black children seem to be held to a different standard? This point is when students speak up, they aren't trying to disrupt things. They're just asking for fairness, understanding, and respect. This young man didn't come forward to be criticized. He came forward to represent himself and others who feel similarly. He's asking to be seen and be heard for who they truly are, not for how they fit into the pre-existing mold. To that young man, I want to say thank you for being bold enough to speak your truth. Your voice matters, you have our support, and the Jamaican diaspora is listening. It's time for all of us to reflect on these policies. We need to move forward, not just as individuals, but as a society, and rethink what truly makes a person professional, acceptable, or valuable. Our children need to freely express themselves without fear or judgment or punishment. Let's stand together to support them and break free from the old outdated ideas. Our freedom and strength lie in embracing our identity. There's a video circle.
All right, what are your thoughts on what you just heard? Never heard the video. Go ahead. Who opened their mic first? Okay, well, I'm frozen. So hold on, Adesoji. I'm frozen. I hear you, but I can't scroll nothing. I know I'm gonna get kicked out in a few seconds. So I'll just go ahead and exit out and come back. So don't say anything yet. Please come and want it to stream live. Bear with me. All right, YouTube, I am working out some technical issues on my side, not my fault, as well as listeners online. I do apologize for the break here. However, I think fan base is trying to ramp up we do use our studio audience comes through fan base, and I think a lot of people are migrating to fan base with everything that's going on now in social media. So just bear with me a second while I get back in. All right, Adesoji, I'm back. Thank you. Go right ahead. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So you said you thanked the British, but most of this stuff were no. I mean, you have a point, but most of these policies were a way of ensuring that they control the local population. When you create a standard, or sorry, when you create an image of what a pristine person or a civilized person should look like. Here is the thing, but they've gone. They've been gone since the 1960s. Who said man is a terrible thing to waste? Somebody also said when you don't need, sometimes all you need to do is own their minds. Because even when you're not there, they will fight on your behalf. So all of this stuff should have been done away with for a very long time. The so-called, I mean, you can't dictate how the hair grows out of your scalp. So to think it will be one shape, it will be therein you know that you have a problem. I'm sorry, but truth be told, I mean, we went through it in secondary school. This conformative way, which has nothing to do with whatever it is you're coming to study in the class,
right?
Or how you apply yourself,
right?
But this idea that everybody must look the same is one of the real problems we're facing in the global south. And the worst part is, like I said earlier, they've been long gone, but their relics is still around with us. And the most fervent ones amongst us want to be everything but who we truly are. And he says, what's his name? Frantz Fanon in Black Skin, White Mask. He said, I should tell you, woe be you for you trying to be an European. You might as well leave it to them because they're better at it. Because you're doing a bad job, speaking, rolling your R's. Oh, he comes back from Paris, and all of a sudden we, the locals, can no longer understand him because he's been to Metropole. But some of us have never been to Metropole, but we are actually much more European than the European. Are you?
All right, so go ahead, James. Go right ahead.
Yes, so this thing, because you remember the famous words, remove the kinks from your eyes and not from your hair. Remember that saying? And even from back then, he was pretty much like demonized, because sometimes, especially as a man, and you say stuff like that, like pretty much like keep out of woman business and stuff like that. And he said that in a time, after the whole the Madam CJ Walker thing with the straightening of the hair, I know it got so big in America and it spilled over into the Caribbean. Yeah, but those were powerful words, and we're still that was said over about 78 years ago, and it still resonates. And it's not only that, we're talking about also the economics of it, right? We saw a shift in Canada. I don't know about America, but we saw a shift in Canada with a lot of women doing their lock. And we saw a boost in like local Black women making good money, because my wife just took my daughter to lock her ear, and it was like $500. So to get it started. And we had the conversation about how like industry that China make billions of dollars. I know Black women spend more money on their more than white, Chinese, Black women spend more, but the money does not stay in our community. So had this big conversation, like, you know, after the whole George Floyd thing and the uprising, and people started pushing back and say, you know what, we saw a lot of women, you know, doing similar to what what's her name is Tasha is doing, like natural body
products,
butter and body products and stuff like that. And women started doing their natural hair, like locking it and doing, and like a campaign to say, you know what, we're going to shut down these Chinese beauty stores because they're disgusting. When you go inside them, you see the Chinese women stand up over the black girls watching the cash register, and all of the images are black women with their, whether it's like Brazilian wig or braids or whatever, and 99% of them in Canada, they're owned by Chinese. You know, so yes, so when we're talking about your natural beauty, you're not just taking back and being proud of being a beautiful black woman, but you're taking back your money too and keeping it back in the community. So it's hard to see like Jamaica, like a 90% black country, struggling with that when, you know, people in Canada and America is pushing back and say we want to take back our resources and keep our beauty, support our local beauty in our own community. So for Jamaica to be still struggling with that is just sad.
It is indeed sad. And let us be honest, let's talk about self-esteem. It's something that we struggle with. And I'm seeing videos on TikTok of girls under the age of 10, you know, wearing European hairstyles. Let's call it that. Well, wearing European hairstyles. And we within the black community, we're not embracing who we really are. We are altering our features to appeal or appease. Which word is it? Appeal or appease? What are we doing? Whose validation are we seeking? Why should we be the ones? And in the video, they're absolutely right. Other demographics are able to wear their hair, however, and it's accepted. But we are told our hair is unkept. And you know, let me pump the brakes here for a second. You've heard me say, and I did put up a video on TikTok where I said, you know, I had my struggles with what do you call it, coming on YouTube live, because it's a lot of pressure, and I feel the pressure in so many different ways, right? We're very critical of one another. Let us not be fooled. We sit down and we criticize people. We do it. And one of the things we tend to do within our community is, so I make fear here stay so. She couldn't comb her hair. She not see her hair not stay good. She can't do this to her hair. Why she not go find one wig put on? Why she not put it? And we go on and on and on and on. We struggle to accept ourselves as we are, and we struggle to accept other people in their natural state. Yeah, so I did put the video up because I was like, oh my God, let me see if I can find it. Hold on, let me do it.
So the people I'm need to go live, right? And when I go live, I need to show my face. No, I have tried going live on TikTok. It's a struggle for me. My comfort zone is being behind the camera. I can't sit down for 4 hours and I'm going to stare at me every Monday to Friday and I criticize me. Because I see when me get up out of my bed, I mean, look like this. Me no want to comb my ear, fix up myself. None of that. I want to be comfortable, right?
So in light of me saying that, comb my hair, fix up myself, none of that. Why me can't just get up out of my head and go about my business? Don't other people get up and not go about their business same way? But I get it. So, all right, we have a comment here on YouTube. Tasha said, I am in agreement with the school for sending them home. I saw the video of the boys. Their hair is very unkept and not appropriate for school. At least comb it or groom it. All right. So I guess we saw different videos, Tasha, because the one I saw, he had a fade. You know, and I don't know if I the right term that for the hairstyle. Men, you can let me know. Where you have a little hair on top and it's shorter around the sides, going around the back, which is how, for the most part, well, son number 4, that's how he wears his hair. So then, if I'm looking at I'm thinking about my children, they would be kicked out of school in Jamaica then. My boys would be kicked out of school. They'll be sent home because them here is not in, it's going against the school rules. Now, at the same time, there are rules and regulations, right? If the school give you the handbook and them say to you, say, this is what we deem acceptable, we just have to follow the rules. We have to know how to follow rules, and that starts from an early age. If the school say your shirt have to tuck in your pants, you have to tuck in your shirt in your pants. If the school say it's black shoes with navy socks, don't you comply. It's a double-edged sword. And I understand. I think the effects of colonialism, are so deep-seated and embedded within us that and I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I am guilty of it too. Where I will look at someone and say, well, no man, that's the way out of line now. I'm okay going to a certain extent, but no, them gone too far. But is it really us going too? Is it them going too far? Or is it us being too much in agreement with the idea of colonialism? Go right ahead, Mr. President.
Just a quick word on that moment. I know when I was in secondary school, you could have come to school with locks. But if you was not a Rasta, you had to have your hair kept a certain way.
Okay.
Because there are some people, so you're not a Rasta, you're not locks up, you're not plait or whatever, but you just have your hair all rowdy. Mm-hmm. No, they would pull you up for that. But as long as you was a Rasta or any kind of religious person like that, mm-hmm. you were allowed. I know for Rastafarians, because there were Rastafarians in the school, you were allowed to freely come to school with your locks.
Okay.
At least that was in my school I go to.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if it was across the board. Maybe it was not.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have another comment here. Ja has put on YouTube. It's for us as parents to help our children, boys and girls, to love themselves. She also says, I think all children should be taught hygiene and aesthetics. But don't ask me to cut my hair if it's kept neat. All right. I agree. For me personally, I don't know. I agree that neat is important. But what does neat look like? What does neat look like? What you might consider neat, somebody else might not consider neat. What does neat look like? All right, and the reason I'm asking that, you have all seen more recent pictures of Mark Zuckerberg, right? We were just talking about, what's his name, Justin Timberlake back in the day, right? RoSolo with his curls. What if I say, no, that's not neat, but that is how his hair grows out of his head naturally. But in my opinion, that's not neat. Is that fair for me to judge him? He and I get up out of the bed, but you will accept his hair being coiled up, but you won't accept mine being coiled up at school. Am I wrong or am I right?
For moments, and that's subjective. Look at Jay-Z locks. Jay-Z don't have the prettiest locks. And get into every boardroom.
Because he has his money. And he has his status.
And Jay-Z wants to be what's the French painters the French painter Pasqua. So
it's a conversation. It is a conversation to be had, and we all look at it through different lenses. We all look at it through different lenses, no? But let us be real. Let us pay attention to the landscape with which we have to travel, through which we have to travel. We don't write the rules. We have to try our best to back up. Time and place. Let me just leave it right as a time and place for everything. Know where you're going and know what is appropriate for such an environment. Go ahead, James. If I'm making sense. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, one other thing I think in our community too is like I feel like we're confused and we're sending mixed messages when it come on to like, beauty or our own beauty. And as sometimes as adults we send mixed messages to our kids and as a society it's just like for me, like black is beautiful. Like I'm not attracted to any other woman apart from black women. And like when I live black, I said it already, like I don't wait on Black History Month to be black. And I feel like too much people in our community will wait for the month. Even like a place like in the Caribbean, say Jamaica, Barbados, St. Vincent, where it's like 80-90% black population. Why the heck are we celebrating Black History Month? Every day we wake up, it should be Black History, right? Like, so for me, like I live black. My kids, we're different shade of black. Like all three of my kids, different shade of black, and we talk to them about their blackness and their beauty. We read black books. We have black pictures. I don't think we have any white picture in our house. Everything in the house is black. And they play with, read black books and play with toys and stuff like that. They have like the Bob Marley books and these type of stuff. So because the reality is we're living in North America where they're not seeing enough of that. They go to school and I don't think they've ever had maybe one teacher that's look like them. So we have to stand firm in our blackness so we can demonstrate this is not just and then we're confused. So I think that's what we need to do, especially when you're living in a black country, like predominant a black country. Like don't follow America talk about Black History Month and this and that. Jamaica is a black country. Celebrate black every single day of the week, every day of the year, So
all right, thank you for that, James. I'm going to pin another comment. Go ahead, Mr. President. Go right ahead.
As James made that same that point there, right? That is so salient. It brings me back to Chairman there and Ngozi Adichie, right? She said that she grew up early reading a lot of North American books. So she would read about ginger beer and stuff that she don't have a clue on apples and all the different stuff. But not until she started to read African books by African author that she started to see herself in the books that she read. Okay. Understand? So it is important that we expose our kids to the images and the material where they would see themselves. That's why Black Panther was such a powerful movie. Because before we didn't have that much heroes. And there is a lot of heroes within our communities that is unheard of by our kids. So it's important that the point James made, it's important that we as parents make sure we incorporate these things.
Yeah.
And Janet made the point also.
Yeah. It starts at home and how we pour into our children, definitely. I want to say thank you to everyone for engaging in that conversation. And that conversation was about hair. Stemming from, okay, so let me, before I move on, sorry, I pinned a comment on YouTube. DJ Simple says, I think schools in Jamaica should stop focusing on grooming and attire and focus more on educating our children. Any thoughts on that before I move on?
Yeah, I think that's the most important part. I agree with that comment. Because it's almost like going to church, where so sometimes churches can be focused on the dress and not necessarily the reason why you're supposed to be there. So I correlate the two. So let's focus on the education and not necessarily what they're wearing, as long as they're dressed appropriately.
Okay. All right. I'm going to pin one more comment and then we move on. It is the top of the hour. Brilliant point by James. Breathe black, love black, talk black, walk black, blackity black, 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 black. That a comment from Adesoji speaks knowledge. All right. Thank you, everyone, for the engaging conversation. We're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we have stories out of Latin America. I want to live in America. All right. Quick break. We'll be right back. Coffee and Toe is brought to you in part by Lormel Skin Food. Log on to lormelskinfood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grand Coffee House. All right, thank you, YouTube. Thank you for being here with us. So now it is time for stories out of Latin America. U.S. removes Cuba from state sponsor of terrorism list. Yay! Let me go ahead and pin it here. So it sounds like something to celebrate. Hope it will not be a short-lived celebration. Next week is around the corner, must say. All right, so this article, courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. The United States has officially removed Cuba from its list of state sponsors of terrorism, signaling a significant shift, that is, in U.S.-Cuba relations. The Biden administration determined that Cuba has not supported terrorism in the past 6 months and has provided assurances that it will not engage in such activities going forward. The move reverses a decision made in January 2021 that added Cuba to the list. Being labeled as a state sponsor of terrorism had serious effects on Cuba, including restrictions on financial transactions and limited access to U.S. economic aid. According to Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, the Biden-Harris administration's Cuba policy focuses on empowering the Cuban people to freely determine their own future and advancing respect for human rights. This singular purpose has guided our policies to reunify Cuban families, strengthen cultural and educational ties between Cuba and the United States, enable remittances to flow more freely to the Cuban people, and increase support for independent Cuban entrepreneurs. As part of this effort, several key steps were announced, and let's go through them. Number 1, rescinding Cuba's terrorism designation. President Biden notified Congress of the decision to remove Cuba from the state sponsor of terrorism list. Number 2, issuing a waiver for Title III of the Helms-Burton Act, the waiver, also known as the Libertad Act. That will be in effect for 6 months. Ending additional engagement restrictions. The 2017 National Security Presidential Memorandum 5 on Cuba policy has been rescinded, lifting additional regulations on U.S. interactions with Cuban individuals and entities. In collaboration with the Catholic Church and under the guidance of Pope Francis, the Cuban government has also agreed to release a significant number of political prisoners, a move welcomed by the US as a step toward improving the livelihood and liberty of the Cuban people. President Biden's actions reflect advice from leaders across Latin America and the Catholic Church to foster constructive dialogue and address the human rights challenges faced by Cubans. These measures aim to build stronger ties between the two nations while encouraging Cuba to make meaningful changes to benefit its citizens. Viva Cuba! How do you feel about this one? I have my thoughts, but I'll allow everyone to go ahead of me, please. Libertad! Nobody? No one has any thoughts on this one?
I don't even know. I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say.
You don't even know what to say?
Is that a question of human rights in that statement? I think I heard something like
yes,
that.
You did. You absolutely. You heard it correctly.
Okay, so human rights. This is for a country that has just released some people that have spent over 20 years in a detention cell in the middle of nowhere, in legal limbo. And we're taking direction from these people to say how to behave in public. I mean, the cheek.
Adesoji, I have an explanation for that.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Mr. President, let us hear what Mr. President has to say. Go ahead, Mr. President.
Go on.
They were held on Guantanamo Bay,
which is owned by
Cuba. So I assume they may be figures the Cubans holding them. But outside of that,
yeah,
I have not heard Cuba being implicated in any kind of terrorist act or any kind of stuff for the last how much years? At least 20, at least minimum. And matter of fact, Cuba as a country has been lending the most humanitarian assistance throughout the world. Throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even understand. And why Biden, with till he's about to leave to do it, knowing fully well that the incoming president might just go back to what it was. If you were so concerned, why didn't you do that earlier in your term, in your tenure?
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. President, because that was going to be my question. Why wait until the end of the term, knowing that there is going to be this strong likelihood to be an executive order to reverse this action? Why didn't we do it at least 6 months after entering office 4 years ago?
I can actually answer that question. Is because now he is 3 days from excusing himself from the office. He can say, at least I did something. Pleasing both sides when you please nobody. And one final point on the issue of declaring Cuba is no longer a state sponsor of terrorism. The United States, for some reason, think when they say something, the world actually believes them. Do you know what level of delusion you actually have to be in to be saying that? I yield.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it's something to celebrate right now or yet. But the only reason I think I celebrate a little bit is because of what happened just 3 months ago with all the leaders in the Caribbean. They came out with the same statement about relieving Cuba from the terrorist list. Mm-hmm. So every single island came out with that statement. So maybe they're just listening. Mm-hmm. So I'll have a little celebration for that. The next thing hopefully by next week we hear that everybody's out from Guantanamo Bay. Mm-hmm. And knowing Trump as the business person that he is, who knows, maybe there'll be a Trump tower there instead of instead of a prison. You never know. But the thing with Cuba though, Cuba was never about any terrorism or anything like that. Because remember, Cuba was the playground for America back in the 50s, right? Remember all of the burlesque dancing, and all. Even some movies, American movies, were filmed in Cuba, right? But what's been happening, because Cuba insists that anybody that's coming in have to partner with them. I think the Canadian government have done partnership where you come in and you do business and stuff like that, but the government have to have shares in it. I think the American government refused to do that, and that's why they're so long. They refuse to partner because every business that's going up in Cuba, the government of Cuba needs shares in it. Okay. So I think that is what, and they refuse. Like, I watch the last time when Anthony Bourdain went there before he died, and they talked to some people and they were saying that we reject KFC, we don't want KFC, we don't want McDonald's, we don't want anything, we want to keep our identity. Right. So I think they're still working on some of those kinks, and they don't want to, America don't want to feel like they're bowing to a smaller nation. So that's why they still have the embargo.
All right. So I pulled up an article dated January 11, 2021. Can be found on pbs.org. The title, Trump hits Cuba with new sanctions in waning days. The Trump administration on Monday redesignated Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism, hitting the country with new sanctions that could hamstring President-elect Joe Biden's promise to renew relations with the communist-governed island. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced the step, citing in particular Cuba's continued harboring of U.S. fugitives, its refusal to extradite coterie of Colombian guerrilla commanders, as well as its support for Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro. The designation, which had been discussed for years, is one of several last-minute foreign policy moves that the Trump administration is making before Biden takes office in January. January 20. Oh, by the way, Monday is also Martin Luther King Day. You realize that? But anyway, removing Cuba from the blacklist had been one of former President Barack Obama's main foreign policy achievements, as he sought better relations with the island, an effort endorsed by Biden as his vice president. Ties had been essentially frozen after Fidel Castro took power in 1959. So, why did he, as vice president, endorse the move by then President Barack Obama? But then when he took office, he did not seek to reverse what Donald Trump put in place. And remember what Mike Pompeo said? He cited Cuba's continued harboring of U.S. fugitives, its refusal to extradite Colombian guerrilla commanders, and its support for Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro. Why didn't he reverse it? So what's the difference now and between now and then?
Okay. So moments, essentially you have two conditions there. The refusal, the support for Venezuela, and no extradition treaty, which could fit a plethora of countries in. Because there's a lot of countries that have relation with Venezuela, and there are a lot of countries that do not have an extradition treaty with the US. So are they terrorist countries also? Because what are you saying you're harboring Colombian or guerrilla fighters or whatever, right? If you do not have an extradition treaty, regardless who is there, extradite them. So that's a moot point. So the 2 points is that they support Maduro and they do not have an extradition treaty. And there's a host of countries that support Venezuela or do business with Venezuela and do not have extradition treaty with the US. So are they all terrorist countries? It makes no sense.
Good question. Good point.
Yeah, it's just none of them is better than the other. Like both Democrats and Republicans have been doing the same thing. And the thing is, Cuba is, you know how I feel about Cuba already. Cuba is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. It's a very beautiful country. And even when you go there and you see like a place just stop in time, if Cuba, remember, like I said this already, if Cuba open up tomorrow, I'm sorry for Jamaica, like they're going to lose a lot. No, seriously, they're going to lose a lot of tourists because it's a beautiful country. I know as Jamaicans, we like to brag about, oh, we have the best beaches, but nothing like the beaches in Cuba. And I feel like the natural resources and all the things there, because America's been in Cuba from what, 1905, 1903, I think they were in Cuba. And so they want Cuba. That is the thing. They want Cuba. Cuba is a prized possession, and they want Cuba. And they're not willing to lift the embargo until they know that they can have Cuba. And I think that is a problem. Like Cuba to them would be like way more than what they're doing with Puerto Rico. They would cherish Cuba if they get Cuba. Because remember, they had it. Remember, that's where, before Las Vegas, people don't realize, before Las Vegas, like that's where all of the millionaires, the American millionaires hung out in Cuba. Like there's some footage from back in when they just start using film from back in the 50s, early 50s of Cuba, and everybody who is who, that's where they were. And that's what they want. They're not willing to lift the embargo until they know they can get it back.
You know what's interesting? I am looking at the article. Thank you for that, James. I'm reading further down in the article that I pulled up, which is available on pbs.org, titled Trump Hits Cuba with New Sanctions in Waning Days. Now, going down, I'm seeing something interesting here. Was it this week or was it last week? I think it was last week. We spoke about the Havana Syndrome, the article that came up, courtesy of WSBN, because one thing me no want nobody contact about them, me no know me talk about. But hold on one second. Last week Friday was what? The 10th? No, I saw. Yeah, the 10th. Hold on. Let me say something real quick because I don't want to misspeak. Let me see if I can run back to that one where they spoke about US. Where are you? Right. But in the meantime, there were questions surrounding the whole Havana Syndrome story, and but now I'm seeing in this article, in addition to attacking Cuba for its support of Maduro, the Trump administration has also suggested that Cuba may have been behind or allowed alleged sonic attacks that left dozens of U.S. diplomats in Havana with brain injuries starting in late 2016. So is the Havana Syndrome a real thing or is it not a real thing? No, I have questions.
But moments, that was before 5 out of the 7 agencies in America investigated the Havana Syndrome and said that it is unlikely that it was an attack on the US. And only 2 said there was a possibility. So that decision was based on unconclusive evidence, you know? At the time, because it happened in Cuba, they thought it was an attack on them by the Cubans.
Okay, got it. All right. So
it was an excuse to remove the embassy from Cuba because Obama started the relation. That was the excuse to get them out of the embassy and shut down the embassy.
Okay.
Yeah, that sonic attack thing, it didn't make sense. It just sounded like a script from one of those movies. It just never makes sense.
Did not make sense.
You remember they also said Obama, like Dre said, when Obama decided, he was going to ease relations with them, all those Cuban exiles started screaming blue murder, that kind of thing. And so again, yeah, that was a cover for them to be able to pull back, because for them to have just simply said we're reversing course would have been an embarrassing. Not that he cares about embarrassing Obama, but they needed to give themselves a safe grace, because one thing the Americans are savvy about is their image. And we know that. And the guy who's coming back in, oh my God, his image is bigger than his head.
All right, so I want to jump on a comment that was put in the chat. Dre, thank you for this comment. It's not smart. Well, sorry, it's smart to not reverse it. And I think you are alluding to James's comment. How can you do business and have deals with a country that if the next government comes in, the deal you have is null? Dre, you want to talk on that or not able to speak? So it's smart to not.
No, it's just like, yeah, in the state that the United States is in right now, why would you even do business with them? Right? You have business with them, trade agreement, all kind of thing with one administration. As the next administration come in, they pull it down, everything. Like, they don't even follow up with what is going on, just for political points and stuff like that. How can you do business with a country like that? So that's the point that I'm trying to make. In like when you're saying that why him never put back in place what Obama did, it don't even make sense. Because when the Republican them come in, they're gonna tear it back down.
There needs to be something fixed in place that cannot be deconstructed, if that's a word. One word, that's something I even know. Yeah. All right. All right, thank you, everyone. We're going to keep it moving. It's time for stories on the international scene. Can I put that there? And let me come back over here and do this here. So Hamas okays draft agreement of a Gaza ceasefire and the release of some hostages, officials say. We do have a soundbite for this one, courtesy of WSBN. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
New year, new opportunities.
Join us. Wait for this ad to run out. I do apologize for that. And let's skip this ad.
Hamas has reportedly accepted a draft agreement for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the release of dozens of hostages. It would bring the terror group in Israel that much closer to ending 15 months of war. Here's Jared Halpern.
The fighting in Gaza could soon be over. Both Israel and Hamas have agreed to a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal with an announcement expected in the coming days or even hours. We're learning more about the Biden administration's vision for post-war Gaza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken unveiling a plan that would see the international community, possibly the UN, handle day-to-day governance in Gaza, while a coalition of mostly Arab countries would provide security forces until the Palestinian Authority is able to take over.
Our imperative is not to turn back the clock to the way things were before October 7th. It's to forge a new reality for the Middle East in which all people are more secure, all can realize their national aspirations, all can live in peace.
Senior Israeli officials tell Fox News the inauguration of Donald Trump helped make this breakthrough possible. The president-elect sent his Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff, to push the Israelis to accept the deal, hoping to have the first hostages home by the time Trump is sworn in next week.
He would like to get a Nobel Peace Prize. He would like to end all the wars. He's very clear-cut about that goal.
The Israeli government is also under increasing domestic pressure to make this deal happen, with time running out to save the remaining hostages.
We don't want more hostages left behind. And we don't want to hear about more hostages being killed in captivity.
President Biden is also taking credit, saying the deal is nearly identical to the one he proposed back in May. In Washington, Jared Halpern, 7 News.
Who wants to take this one?
So the brother wants a Nobel Peace Prize. I wonder who else got one. Oh yeah, the black guy.
So does that mean he wouldn't attack Greenland anymore because he need a Nobel Peace Prize?
He wants a Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, the proposal that the United Nations runs the space and that the Arab countries help govern Gaza. Where else did we hear that? Do you know, we had that in 1976. I'm serious.
Oh,
that
Lord.
was a plan broached in 1976. How many years is that now? And fast forward, you are not accepting that on the basis of what? And when Anthony Blinken says we are going post October 7th, to go and pull back an idea that was given to you in 1976. Yes, we've lost our minds. I yield. Because it's mind-boggling that we. Okay, here's another snack. The same UN that you do not recognize, the same UN that when you were literally bombing people on the streets, in their homes, in their schools, everywhere, the same is the one that you do not want to represent, is the same one that you want to now sit and talk with. The same one that you want to sanction. You've sanctioned an agency, the United Nations Refugee UNRWA, but you want the United Nations to come in there. Oh my God, what kind of world is this? It just can't make sense. Even you, oh God, they are enough.
Oh boy. Does anybody do anything out of the goodness of their heart? That's just the only question I think I have. Really and truly, does anybody do anything out of the goodness of their heart because it's the right thing to do? Or does everybody do something to earn stripes?
I think we should actually get the Pope to visit your chappie every other time. Because ever since the Pope has been popping around, things have been moving. Things are rational.
We say he's popping around.
Yeah, with all that connotation.
Why? My body, I can't manage it. All right, well. Let's see what happens, right? I guess they don't want all hell to be. So when it ends, who is going to build back Gaza? Who is going to give people back their homes? Who is going to take on that task? Nobody? Just carry on as though nothing happened. And then the people who have lost everything have nothing to rebuild with. That's it. We just let it be. Like it never happened. Okay. All right. I see how it is. It is what it is. It is what it is, they say. And that's a dangerous phrase. It's a dangerous mindset to have. It is what it is. All right, coming up next, stories on the international scene. As the US dollar soars, here are Europe's biggest winners and losers. Thank you for this article, Mr. President. And the article can be found on cnbc.com. The recent strengthening of the greenback could both benefit and hurt Europe, analysts say. With market watchers anticipating further weakening of the bloc's major currencies in 2025 as President-elect Donald Trump takes office in the US and economic uncertainty persists. The US dollar index, which measures the greenback against a basket of rivals, hit its highest level in more than 2 years on Monday, following a hotter than expected jobs report out of the United States last week. By 6:29 a.m. London time on Tuesday, the dollar index was down 0.3 to trade at 109.59. A day earlier, it climbed to 110, its highest price since November 2022. As the greenback moved upward, European currencies found themselves at multi-year lows. The euro fell 0.4% to $1.0199 by 12:50 p.m. London time on Monday, its lowest value against the dollar since August 2022. It was little changed on Tuesday morning. Meanwhile, the British pound, which had already come under pressure in recent weeks, thanks to rising government borrowing and concerns about the UK economy, shed 0.8% to trade at $1.21 on Monday, its lowest since early 2023. At 7 a.m. London time on Tuesday, sterling was little changed. The US dollar is likely to remain elevated as President-elect Donald Trump takes office again, with European currencies struggling to gain momentum. According to Bartosz Sawicki, market analyst, he says, I see a high probability of markets behaving in a similar way to what we observed during Donald Trump's first presidency. Sharp, volatile moves, but without any really strong trends. So the US dollar will likely stay strong in the short term. Interesting statement. I like the last part, in the short term. But let me go ahead and jump over to this next article because I think we can have a conversation with the two. And I'll pin this one, the next one, also courtesy of Mr. President. Thank you so much for sending this over. BRICS expansion, 9 new partner countries set to join in January 2025. Oh boy. All right. Pin this here on YouTube. So in this article, courtesy of Middle East Economy, 9 nations will effectively become partner states of BRICS in January 2025, WAM reported, referencing Russian presidential aide Yuri Ushakov during a press briefing. WAM to TV BRICS from January 1, Belarus, Bolivia, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Cuba, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan will join BRICS as partner countries. Ushakov noted that these nations have expressed their eagerness to attain the status and mentioned that Moscow is waiting a response from an additional 4 countries. The partner countries will have the opportunity to propose initiatives, but will not participate in the approval of documents or voting. The BRICS nations endorsed the framework for this category and welcomed other countries' interest in the group during the Kazan Declaration of the BRICS Summit. The summit also established a list of nations that were subsequently invited to join the association as partners. So, as BRICS continues to strengthen, and it is strengthening with the addition of these 9 countries, plus 4 others laying in wait, could you say then that, when we go back to the other articles, the CNBC's article, is it safe to say that the US dollar will likely only stay strong in the short term, or will likely stay strong in the short term only, but long term, not so much? What are your thoughts on that? Adesoji, you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because we know what's coming. And when I say we know what's coming, you're having a president that is coming in that is going to be ruling based on his tantrums, how he wakes up in the morning. And with usually the words of the president and the prime minister and the guy in Tokyo's words being hung on by everybody that has investments in stock market, his is likely to have much more impact. Why? The dollar. So if you were to mention the T word, which we shall mention quietly, tariffs, it's gonna throw your market into a belly spin. And you know what that happens. Anything that spooks the market, I mean, he's lucky. He's inherited 2 administrations now where the money has been good. The job market is good. Job numbers is good. The economy is thriving. He claimed it was a pandemic the last time. That's why his economy wasn't doing so good. Now you don't have them. What's your excuse? You see, that's what I'm saying. The guy will do what he needs to do. He will be the one that will spook the market. And once he does that, oh my God, watch.
Okay, you say so. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. President. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so as Adesoji say, just to piggyback on some things you say and to add, the reason why the dollar high, right, is usually because of high interest rates. So if you have a higher interest rates, people would tend to invest because they get a higher return on their investments. So that's why the dollar gets stronger. And I think one of the key things that contributed to it recently was that everybody expected the Feds to cut rate, okay, to lower the interest rate. But because we had such a strong job market report, they did not cut the rate. So the rate remained higher than expected. And so that also allowed for the strengthening. But what that does is that it's a disadvantage to US exporters. It's an advantage to importers because a stronger dollar means foreign goods become cheaper. And maybe that might have an effect of lowering the effect minusculely, whatever tariffs that is implemented. Because if the goods overseas are cheaper, you could probably absorb some of the tariffs without it being felt as impactful as when the dollar is weak. But it's bad for exporters, good for the importers, and the job market had a lot to do with it.
All right. Hey. All right. So I want to bring up another article that you sent over to me as well, which this one is interesting. And let us see if this will alter our position of strength. Hey. All right. This one, China continues to export to the global south. This article can be found on asiatimes.com. China's exports grew 10.7%. And we brought this up yesterday. We had an article that can be related to this one. China's exports grew 10.7% year on year in December, outpacing November's 6.7% gain and beating analyst forecasts of 7.3% growth. Restocking in anticipation of tariffs accounted for a small part of the gain. But the main driver of Chinese exports remains the global south, especially to countries where China is building infrastructure. China's exports to the global south exceeded its shipments to all developed markets in 2023, and the shift toward the developing world continues. Exports to the US now comprise just 15% of China's total shipments, down from 20% in 2018. In December, China sold US $137 billion worth of goods to the global south, compared to with just $108 billion to all developed markets. The biggest year-on-year gain in December came from Indonesia, whose purchases from China were up 50% in the previous year. China is building high-speed rail and telecom infrastructure in Southeast Asia's largest country. Washington's ability to pressure China through tariffs or other import restrictions has diminished as the center of gravity of China's trade shifted to the global south. So, is the US that important? Is the US that important?
Notice that Indonesia was granted membership in BRICS. So that would even get worse now that they are part of BRICS. Not only China, the other BRICS members now would have more access and it's a very, very important economy in Southeast Asia.
This is what I'm saying, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, please. Okay, so Dre says, yes, it is still important. Okay, but what I am hearing from China is this. Go on with your foolishness, you're imposing tariffs on China, which you cannot do because our people are going to pay the cost. Is your people. Remember, we broke down tariffs and taxes, which tariffs are taxes on goods imported into the United States, right? What I'm hearing China says, go on, do what you want. If your businesses don't import from us, guess what? We have other markets that we can export to. And what I'm hearing in this article, and correct me if I'm wrong, right, is there are stronger markets that import so much more than the US. And globally, if you just remove the US, is China really going to lose anything?
Yes, Moments, you're wrong. Strategically,
all right.
the US is probably one of the best markets for China. And China is diversifying its risk, but it wouldn't decouple from the US totally. They are interdependent. Both countries rely heavily on each other. So what China is doing is hedging just so that they have an option. And by hedging their risk just like that, they put more pressure on the US. Because remember, the amount of businesses that's going to the global south, it means put the US at a disadvantage. So the US would have to think about how they operate. You understand? Because as much as it will hurt the US, if the China is not supplying or doing business with the US, it hurts not only China, it hurts the US also. But if China is hedging, then the impact will be felt more by the US. Because there is nobody to take China's place. It's such a big market that there is nobody to replace them. So it's just politics. They need each other.
So remind me, isn't it the US that gave China the power that they now have when we talk about trade? Go ahead, James. Go right ahead.
But I think I understand Daniel, I understand what you're saying, that okay, so America is the market in the entire world that spend more than anybody else, right? America is the hot girl with like the Gucci and the Prada and the stuff, right? But the thing is, like, as you said, both countries need each other. But if you look at China's move, because remember, Nigeria is only 100 million population less than the US, right? So Nigeria is the next big population that could substitute the US if the Nigerian economy picks up and the Nigerian middle class grow. So just say, for example, American middle class have been shrinking every year in the past I would say 20 years. The middle class is going back to what it was like before, like World War II. Like, it's just shrinking. Like, more people, there are less people in America that can afford a house to buy a house. People are struggling now in America more than any time. Just say Nigeria middle class increase. China is already securing the market in Nigeria, which is a massive market, right? The only difference with the market in Nigeria is that they don't have the spending power that the US have. India don't have the spending power, but if the relationship between China and America come to some kind of crash, who's going to fall the hardest? I believe America is going to fall the hardest, because America depends on China a lot more than China depend on America. And remember, China is used to already taking austerity measures that the Chinese people are used to, like a communist government that can say, like, look, only one pitney, you can only have one pitney, you can only have one car, you can only eat this amount. America don't have the same control over their population. So I believe anybody's going to drop harder is the Americans if the relationship goes south.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. Do me a favor. Check the chat real quick on Fanbase. Check the chat real quick. All right. So let's see how this plays out. All right, so that story coming up tomorrow on Coffee and Toe in our stories on the international scene. Ghana to investigate controversial $400 million cathedral project. I so wanted to talk about this one today because, man, I have a lot to say. However, we don't have the time because we do have other stories that we need to get through. But tomorrow on Coffee and Toe, Ghana to investigate controversial $400 million cathedral project. Also in Ghana, the statue of the ex-Ghana president, Akufo-Addo, destroyed. Mali is set for a huge $1.2 billion payday from mining businesses. Barrick suspends mining activities after Mali seizes $245 million worth of gold. So you definitely don't want to miss those stories coming up tomorrow. It's time now for stories out of North America. Just going to take one quick break and we'll be right. Coffee and Toe is brought to you in part by Lormel Skin Food. Log on to LormelSkinFood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grand Coffee House. Thank you, YouTube Live. Still trying to make sure, remember and acclimate myself and all of that with YouTube Live. New territory we started last week. We're here today, the first day on my face. I'm promising about tomorrow. Let me see what side of the bed I wake up on tomorrow and how my shadow looks when I step out in the sun. Baby steps. All right, it is now time for stories out of North America. And bear with me 1 second here. Man-made smuggling tunnel discovered on the border. Oh boy, is this anything new that we've heard about? Watch TV. Them tell us anything you see the movie them, it's a go on in a real life. Okay? And I am inclined to believe that. So let's go ahead and get into this article. This one is courtesy of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection website, cbp.gov. All right. So I saw the video on TikTok. Saw the video on TikTok and said, no, let me do some fact checking. And sure enough, took me straight to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection website. So I'll go ahead and read. And this article was posted on Friday, the 10th of January, 2025. U.S. Border Patrol El Paso sector agents, in conjunction with Homeland Security Investigations, discovered a man-made cross-border tunnel coming from Mexico on Thursday. On January 9, U.S. Border Patrol agents assigned to the El Paso station confirmed space entry team conducted an inspection on the storm drain of a tunnel crossing from Juarez to the El Paso storm drain system. I shouldn't be laughing. As I'm reading this, all I'm thinking about is Fast and Furious. Anyway, at approximately 1:15 a.m., agents discovered the completed man-made tunnel coming from Mexico that breaches into the public storm drain after removing a metal plate covering a 36 by 36 inch entry hole. The tunnel is about 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide and is equipped with lighting, a ventilation system, and is braced with wood beams throughout. We are proud of the agents who discovered the smuggling infrastructure used by transnational criminal organizations. Our are relentless in searching and surveying every square mile of the El Paso sector. With our partners, we are committed to investigating these illicit activities and bringing all perpetrators to justice, those who endanger lives in these hazardous environments and circumvent the legal pathways to entering the United States. I'm with you, Adesoji. I am with you wholeheartedly, 100%. I'm rolling my eyes at this article too. Go right ahead, Adesoji, please. Go right ahead. Take the lead on that one, yeah.
When you say man-made smuggling tunnel discovered on the border, there is no S after tunnel. So I suppose we've just found another one. So let's carry a moment.
Be nice, Adesoji.
If you said tunnels, then we might have a breaking news. We might like, oh my God, tunnels. But one, so which means there's 500 more to go. So, okay. Pat yourself on the back.
What I liked about this one? I shouldn't be saying liked. What is interesting about this one? The storm drain. A storm drain.
It reads like a typical James Bond's movie.
The tunnel is about 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide, equipped with lighting and ventilation system, and is braced with wood beams throughout. So you want to tell me, say, when they were building this infrastructure underground, nobody, because I'm sure dynamite had to be used to blow out, to blast through, or no?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So excavation. Where is this tunnel found? Where is it found?
The tunnel was found in El Paso.
Oh, okay. Those are our friends. What's it called? The nibbling rats.
All right, next up in stories out of North America, you're going to behave yourself. 2 billionaires are trying to take over our state government. And I think this one is this is out of Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Oops, I didn't do something. Hold on. No, I did do it. Forgive me. All right, let's go ahead and listen to this video. It is a TikTok video.
There is something happening here in Texas. Here in the state capitol, a small band of Republicans and Democrats in the Texas House are coming together to stop 2 West Texas billionaires from taking over our state government. Are Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks, and they're the biggest Republican donors in the state. They've already bought our governor, they bought our lieutenant governor, they bought our attorney general, they bought our Senate. And now, to complete their takeover, they're trying to buy the Texas House. Tomorrow, they'll attempt to get one of their puppets elected speaker. One of our Republican colleagues said, quote, "This is the most corrupt state government in Texas history." Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks are not just oil and gas oligarchs. They're also Christian nationalist pastors. They've spent more than $100 million to ban abortion in Texas, to ban books in Texas, and now they're trying to close our Texas public schools with a private school voucher scam. This is bigger than party. This is bigger than partisanship. Texas is too big and too great to be sold to the highest bidder. We cannot allow 2 billionaires to transform our beloved state into a theocracy. We have to stop them.
So why didn't you all put a stop to Elon Musk purchasing the United States 50 cents on the dollar per human being here in the US? If you couldn't stop Elon Musk from buying the United States of America, how are you going to stop 2 oligarchs in Texas from taking over the state of Texas? Where's Ja? This is your state, Ja. Who did the song? I think it's a rap song.
We rolling.
And I am glitching on fan base. So I'm frozen. I hear you, but I don't see you, Adesoji. Yeah, we rolling all right.
Yeah, we rolling. So basically, what's happening on the national scale is now happening on state level. Billionaires go in to capture the state apparatus, turn the state upside down, and before you know it, they're done. And you literally don't have a state. You're living in a theocracy. I mean, you're already living in one. It's only in, although at this time, it's only in name only, but sooner or later, it will be the reality of the states. Because if, I mean, you're so scared of a phantom that you actually run towards one brazenly. You create the illusion that you have a problem. You're actually now running towards that problem. You talk about, what's the famous phrase again? The reason we have guns is because of what? The tyranny of the states. And you're running towards it.
Hey, come
I yield.
Be nice, be nice, be nice. Oh boy, what can I say? Okay, so let me jump to the chat here. All this stems from the me mentality in the US. You're not wrong at all. Yeah. I don't know, something is wrong with our mindset here in the States and the mindset of those whom we give power. We allow to be in positions of power. Let's say that. And I am frozen. All right, fan base, I'm going to leave and come right back. Give me a second. All right, thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. I appreciate you coming on board. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel, liking the show so far. I implore you to also share the channel with your friends and family members. Encourage them to subscribe. We are here weekdays 9:35 a.m. Well, I'm going to be shifting that to 9 a.m. No, not 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. I'm sorry. I'm going to be shifting that to 9 a.m. starting Monday. For now, it's 9:35 a.m. And I am trying to find the space on, okay, here we go. Trying to find the space on fan base. All right, fan base, I'm back with you. Thank you so much for your patience. All right, next up in Stories Out of North America, we have an oldie but goodie. It's a video. And oldie. The president had sent me some articles from about this. These articles are going back to 1996. Yes, we're going back in time. That's getting our time machine. Take a trip to the good old days of 1996. So let's take a listen to this one.
African country offered to give $1 billion to help Black Americans economically and politically, and the US government denied that gift. A lot of you might already know this story, but it was new information to me, so I'm assuming some people don't know about this history, and it's important that we talk about it. According to LA Times, the federal government of the US denied the Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan permission to accept a promised $1 billion gift from Libya to help Black Americans economically and politically. According to the same report, Farrakhan applied to the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, asking that he be granted an exemption from the sanctions to permit acceptance of $1 billion pledged by Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi during a visit Farrakhan made to Libya. The Treasury Department denied that request in a message to Farrakhan's lawyers in Chicago, asserting the continuing need of the United States to enforce its policy of isolating Libya. Denying $1 billion, which is a gift meant for Black Americans from an African country, is insane. But it did happen. And according to US spokesman then, Glenn Davis, he said, quote, obviously Gaddafi has an interest in gaining a foothold here in the US in some fashion. And of course, that kind of talk is not something that we view positively at all, end quote. So basically the reasoning the US government gave is that Gaddafi is doing it because he has an interest, and we don't want to allow that, even though this money would have changed people's lives greatly and brought about so much positivity to the Black American community. The US government said no to that. This is a history worth remembering, especially for those that had no idea that an African country offered a gift of $1 billion to the Black American community. I am Ongel Zalalem, a African country.
So I learned something. Thank you, Mr. President, for sharing the articles you did with me. And it's so funny, you know, I think AI is in our minds. It is the top of the hour, by the way. Because lo and behold, this video appeared on my timeline as I am reading through the links you sent to me. Interesting, isn't it? But yes, I learned something. I was not aware of this. Not aware at all. Adesoji, I noticed you put thumbs up. I'm going to pin the link. Give me 1 second. Let me grab the link. Go right ahead.
Yeah, we knew when it happened. But you know what I'm saying? We can't be seen to be collecting money from somebody who is going to be seeking to influence the wherewithal of the United States, but you can collect money from a lobbyist.
Who I think are doing even more damage.
Oh God, very much so.
I mean, the reason I thought this article was so very important is that oftentimes when you're in spaces, on Clubhouse, on different spaces, you hear conversations. There are some people that say, well, Africans don't care about African Americans, and you know, we try to create this divide.
Right.
And I thought it was very important for us as African Americans, or people in the diaspora, to understand the way that Gaddafi was going, because he was seen as a terrorist, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there it goes, an African country was given $1 billion to African Americans in 1996. Imagine if Farrakhan had $1 billion fund that can be distributed to the upliftment of Black Americans, where it could have been today.
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion back in 1996. Imagine that. Imagine the impact you could have on schools, on healthcare, because these are the kind of stuff he's talking about. Opening your own banks, your own schools, your own everything.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare facilities. And these are stuff that you see are disadvantaged in Black communities in America. So imagine if we were funding it and benefiting from it. But that is too much power to be given to that sector.
So interesting that you should say that, because in our TikTok Talk segment, which is coming up shortly, I do have I think I have 1 or 2 videos that talks about the impact on the Black community or communities in the US based on the decisions of those who were in power. And we also have one coming up in our health and science segment. Yes, the real reason that there's no universal health care in the USA. That's coming up. So stick around for that. All right. So anyone else wants to make a comment on that?
My thing is, like, when, like, the media, like in particular media, like I understand people with politics and stuff like that, but when the media talk about, like, with the incoming president now that's coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they talk about threat to democracy and worse this and worse that, I feel like the media and a lot of politicians think that democracy only belongs to America, right? Because they don't seem to talk about some of the things that were done to destabilize other countries and some of the leaders that played a part in those decisions. They don't really get called out for some of the stuff that they have done to contribute to how unstable the world is today. And it just, to me, it is just crazy, because like for me personally, everything that's happened in America, that's all from in my lifetime, I think one of the worst things that I've seen was the Gaddafi thing. That's the worst thing that I've seen. Forget about like January 6th and all that type of stuff. But personally, the Gaddafi thing and some of the moves that were made to destabilize Haiti, like people that were involved in those, like that sit down nicely now and people look up to them. Yeah, no.
What can I say? All right. So as I said, we're gonna be revisiting the conversation based on some videos we have coming up shortly. All right. Anybody else before I move on to the next one? The final story out of news out of North America. Okay, so here we go. 5 takeaways from Pete Hegseth's confirmation here. This one, courtesy of BBC.com. Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's pick for defense secretary in his upcoming presidency, cleared his first hurdle on the way to confirmation. He cleared that first hurdle. A long and at times tense hearing, and this hearing was before the U.S. Senate's Armed Services Committee. For more than 4 hours on Tuesday, Hegseth faced questions about his ability to run the Defense Department, including its 3 million employees and $849 billion budget. And although he was grilled by Democrats over accusations of sexual assault, infidelity, and drinking in the workplace, he appears all but certain to be confirmed to the role after no Republicans came out against him. This was underscored later on Tuesday when Joni Ernst, one Republican who had been seen as a potential roadblock to his nomination, said she would support him. Let's take a look at 5 main takeaways from Hegseth's testimony. A warrior ethos. In his opening statements, war fighting, lethality, meritocracy, standards, and readiness. That's it. That's my job. This is not time for equity, he said, and he opposes quotas, which he claims hurt morale. Women in the military. Mr. Hegseth, I'm quoting you in a podcast. Women shouldn't be in combat at all. Hegseth remained composed, responding by saying his concern was not women in combat, but simply maintaining quote-unquote standards in the military. Lack of experience or breath of fresh air. Hegseth, who at 44, would be the youngest defense secretary in decades, also answered questions about his preparedness to run the Defense Department, a sprawling agency. The former Fox News host, described himself as a change agent, saying, "It's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm." Some Republicans deemed Hegseth's lack of experience a strength. All right, keep it moving. A graduate of Princeton and Harvard universities, Hegseth was an infantry platoon leader in Guantanamo Bay and Iraq. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal. Hegseth, also former Fox News TV host, has military experience in Afghanistan as well. And you know something? Let's just go ahead and jump to TikTok Talk, because there are 2 videos, I believe, that I want to play. The first one, they are bringing him down with basic questions. Listen to this.
You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact
No, you
amount of
couldn't,
nations
because
in
you're
that,
not
but I
even
know we have
bothered to do-
allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia and trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr.
and data
Hegseth,
transfers
none
with
of those
them.
countries
We
are
have
in
allies
ASEAN.
across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations.
I'm sorry. And I think the next one is also about him. Hold on, a person's character matters, especially in a position of power. Let's listen in.
You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad you.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Don't tell me. Hold on. It looks as though I'm taking out. Hold on a second. But no, I have it. Mega fan it in a mega fan. I think I have it. Did I save it? I want to believe I did. But here we go. I found that one quite hilarious. Oh, here it is. Yeah, found it. All right. When you talk about one's character, right?
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
If it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
That was a false claim.
So you
talking about a hypothetical.
So you can't tell me whether someone who has committed a sexual assault is disqualified from being Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I know in my instance, and I'm talking about my instance only, it was a false claim.
But you acknowledge
And
you
it was
cheat, but
fully
you acknowledge that you cheated on your wife and that you cheated on the woman by whom you had just fathered a child. You have admitted that.
I will allow your words to speak for themselves.
You're not retracting that today. That's good. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
But no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
In finalizing divorces from your first and second wives, were there non-disclosure agreements in connection with those divorces?
Senator, not that I'm aware of.
But why should it matter? Why should his private life matter? No, seriously, let's stop for a second. Why should it matter?
Because in the military, apart from the fact that you have command of people, you also lead based on charisma. If the people in front of you, if the people behind you do not respect you, they will not obey your command. They would obey it, but they might not even fulfill the order to their best of abilities. They will do it nonchalantly. So it's very important, very, very important. And also, his personal life is actually the business of the United States government. He's representative of the United States government. So if a foreign power were to have something over him, they can blackmail him or blackmail somebody who's close to him. So that's why it's important that these hearings be conducted. The fact that he can't say that SA would be considered a no-no for a Secretary of Defense is telling of the administration. These guys don't care about anything. Power. That's all they care about, power. And the fact that you want to now cloak yourself in the religious garb. You married one. You were unfaithful with one, with two. While you were unfaithful with two, you were having a baby with three. And in the course of those two, you had vows. So who was reading those? Who was?
I'm going to defend him, and here's why I'm going to defend him. Take a listen.
Okay.
Take a listen.
Yes.
The president is both the head of state and head of government of the United States of America, as well as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
Is that your rebuttal?
Yeah.
The president still doesn't have any power.
Okay. Okay. So you said
he's the commander-in-chief. So
Oh,
isn't
yeah,
he
yeah.
technically above Hegseth? And
Yeah, he's
isn't his
above.
behavior and Hegseth's behavior them kind of on the same page? Them come out of the same school. So why is it we're going to hold a lantern to Hegseth and not hold it
No,
to
no,
Trump?
no. I mean, the jury is already out on him. He's not even, no one cares about him because they already know who he is. This chappie has been playing in public, but we were not privy to what was happening behind the veil. Now we're privy to it. And because we're privy to it, and because we are also going to give him guns and planes and ships and submarines to play with, we need to understand, is this person a responsible person to be allowed to play with these toys? These are very expensive toys, and you can buy them at Walmart. So we need to be able to say, oh, this chappie who has this toys, this array of toys, and these people to command, 3 million to be exact, to command, we need to be assured that this person is of fine character. If the person is not of fine character, we should understand what their inhibition to said character is. We know he drinks. Except you come to terms with the fact that you drink, you have a drinking problem. It's going to play itself out one way or the other. I can guarantee you when you go overseas and you're not conversant with how protocol works elsewhere, and you drink yourself to stupor, they would hold things over you. So, yeah, well, like we said, it's popcorn season. How are we even arguing about this? Come on, let me come in and play with these toys.
So thank you, Adesoji. Let me go ahead and respond to Ja's comment. Hold on one second. Give me a second there, so going back to the article, Hegseth was an infantry platoon leader, and he was in Guantanamo Bay and Iraq. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal. So he has military experience in Afghanistan as well. All right, I think it was you, James. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Adesoji, you can't be serious about that. Remember, they're not picking the head of the Roman Catholic Church, right? Not the Pope. And if you're going to go by that type of criteria, like, I don't think America would have any leaders, right? Because, like, a lot of stuff happened in the army, and a lot of stuff happened with people. Like, you know, the saying, if night could turn to day, you know, and a lot of people, like, even the most innocent looking person out there have some skeletons. And if night could turn to day and some of the stuff come up, then we wouldn't have any leader.
Like, I don't think, open my closet, keep my closet door locked.
Yeah, no, like, I think it's unfair. I don't think you can equate like running a country or being head of protecting the country with cheating on your wife. That's a completely different thing. So no, I think that should be left out. Because remember, like, even 20 years ago, like, a man sleeping with another man would disqualify him from being in the army, right? So I think your personal life should be left out unless it's like something criminal. But no, I think that's, you know, I understand them drilling him, but just imagine that person asking him about him first wife or second wife. Just imagine him have more skeletons than and him questioning the man. So I don't know.
So James, let me. I want to tackle you on something real quick. A man cheating on his wife should not be taken into consideration. If we call ourselves Christians, right? And I'm not. We all have our imperfections. Lord knows I have none. But if your wife is supposed to be your most sacred, I don't want to use the word possession. It's the most sacred person in your life. You vow to honor, cherish, respect, be faithful, all of that. And if you break that commitment to them, what will stop you from breaking your commitment to country? When your wife is who you would hold in higher esteem, wife is the one that you would value more. Your wife is the one that you would, she's your all in all. And from a Christian standpoint, when Jesus, it's in in the New Testament, love your wives the way Christ loves the church. So in other words, we shouldn't seek to do anything. So if we are going, no, hold on. So no, if you break, am I to trust you? If your wife can't trust you, me must trust you. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, but don't we believe in separation of church and state? And a lot of these
we believe in it when we want to. It's a pick and choose situation.
No, but what I'm saying, no, I just don't think that should be in, like, I think if you are a pastor, if you're leading a congregation, that is a different thing. But I believe that if you are, you know, like a leader of a country, a leader of the police, so the police force, like if so you're going to tell me that if a chief of police cheat on his wife, or a woman cheat on her husband, she should lose her job because of that? If the head of the firefighter cheat on their partner, they should lose their job because, okay, if I can't trust you to think, then I can't trust you to take me out of a fire. No, I think it's completely different.
Listen, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
I think it's completely different.
I totally understand what you're saying. Let me read a comment. AT, thank you. A little going back up on fan base in the chat. Infidelity causes a lot of issues in the military. What discipline can be given when those who lead do not follow protocol? You know, I totally get what you're saying, James, but unfortunately, this is the unfortunate thing about the reality that we live in, and it depends on the role, the position. Various positions have certain standards. And me no say, because of my imperfections and my past, me know that is not a position. If offered to me, I would graciously decline. May I tell you? Because of my imperfections, my past, the things that I have done that go against the requirements.
Can I say something?
Yes, Adesoji.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example that pulls apart what James has just said. Why do you think Mark Gates pulled out of his nomination if we're not elected Pope? He was supposed to be what's his job again? Justice Department, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why did he pull out? Why did he just, stomach in and go through with it? Because there are standards. I'll give you another final story. You remember Gulf War, 1991? Yeah, Gulf War in Iraq, the first one. You remember who was the commander-in-chief of the armed forces on the floor? Norman Schwarzkopf. At a press conference, he said something. When they were talking about, was it CNN? No, it wasn't CNN, actually. It was an ABC news reporter who asked him a question. He said, now you're on your way to Baghdad. Are you not afraid that what's it called? Are you not afraid that Saddam was going to use chemical weapons against American troops? Norman Schwarzkopf, without missing a beat, said, if he does that, we're going to nuke Iraq. Do you know he lost his command on that statement alone? And guess who pulled him off his command? It was Colin Powell. Why was Colin Powell able to pull him off his command? Because Norman knew he had fumbled and he had to respect the guy above him. That even, yes, you're supposed to be fighting on behalf of empire, there are still rules. So yes, it's important they know your background. And I can guarantee you if Norman knew he had anything on Colin Powell, he could have disobeyed that order or given his friends in the press some dirt on Colin Powell. So we can't make rules for, if it was going for the role of the Pope, even the Pope is not saintly. This chappie there, the chappie before him, was a Nazi youth. That's why they relieved him, because more stories were coming out. So they had to relieve him. So I don't think we should, there's a separation between church and state. Look at what he used as his cover. He didn't say, I'm a reformed person. He cloaked himself in church because he wasn't playing to their audience. He was playing to the audience outside, which would then say, oh, but look at him. He's a redeemed person. Yes, you make one mistake the first time. You were unfaithful. The second time, you were unfaithful. The third time, would you respect the word of that person? That's why the man asked him that question. You're about to pledge, you pledge to be faithful to wife number 1, to wife number 2. Now you're going to pledge to be faithful to the United States. He's effectively asking you, can we trust your word? I yield.
All right, we have some breaking news. I'm going to play this clip that just came through. Second, and it is courtesy of the Associated Press via WSBN. Hit play here.
And off the top here at noon, a major development in those high-stakes ceasefire talks between Hamas and Israel.
7's Tavares Jones is live in the Satellite Center with the latest. Tavares.
Yeah, Ethan, Olivia, that's coming down by the wire every minute here. Qatari and Hamas officials say a ceasefire has been reached to pause the Israeli war in Gaza and release dozens of hostages. As you know, this has been going on for several months, and this could mean a lot of relief for several hostages and their families. Now, this came down here just a few minutes before we came on air here at noon. Initially, Qatari and Hamas officials say a last-minute dispute in those ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas had been resolved. So there was some sort of dispute on Wednesday that Hamas had tried to change the agreed upon understandings for security agreements in that deal. Now, Qatar's prime minister was doing mediation between the two sides separately. And just here minutes before we came on air, again, a deal has been reached on a ceasefire to pause Israel's war in Gaza and release dozens of hostages. We'll keep bringing you more on this as it continues to develop. Live now here at the Satellite Center, I'm Tavares Jones, 7 News.
So do we take the pause? And how long is the pause for?
A pause is just to be reassured that you have the upper hand, and then just watch. It won't take more than, it will probably just take a pigeon to just fly across the sky, and then hostilities will return. Just watch. Watch.
So the deal, coming after weeks of painstaking negotiations in the Qatari capital, promises the release of dozens of hostages held by Hamas in phases. The release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in Israel would allow hundreds of thousands of people displaced in Gaza to return to what remains of their home. What home are they returning to? The rubble?
Yeah, the rubble on the street is their home. And then you can paint them as people who are barbaric. Forget there was a constant level of barraging in the last year or two. But hey.
But what is interesting, Adesoji, listen to this part. Israel hasn't made a comment yet.
They're just waiting for the orange guy to get in place, 47, to get in place. Once he gets in place, they will find an excuse to continue it. Just watch them.
All right. Okay, well, that was the breaking news. Thank you, WSBN. It is time for our next story. TikTok Talk. Interest convergence explained. Let's take a listen to this.
Every time we make something a little bit better for Black America, somehow it gets way better for white America. This is called interest convergence, and it was defined in 1980 in a paper in the Harvard Law Review by a professor named Derek Bell. And Derek Bell coined this term interest convergence, where somehow if the interests of white Americans and Black Americans go together, then something positive is done for Black America, which really helps white America. And this has happened over and over and over in the American experience, where it ends up, when you look at it historically, that Black America got crumbs and white America got all the cookies.
All right, so it ended there. Interest convergence, according to Google, is the idea that social change for marginalized groups happens when their interests align with those of the majority. And he did say this theory was developed by Derek Bell, a civil rights activist and legal scholar. So let's go a little deeper, or let's give an explanation rather. The interest convergence suggests that racism is beneficial to white people, so they have little incentive to end it. The theory can be used to analyze, critique, and reform policies and practices. Interest convergence can be applied to social issues like educational justice, and coming up later on in our health and science segment, health issues. So, for example, Bell used the Brown versus Board case to illustrate interest convergence. He noted that the case was achieved because white interests aligned with the civil rights movement, but that the convergence ended before educational equality was achieved. Go ahead. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Yes. Professor Derek Bell, actually, he wrote a brilliant book that is still a bestseller till today. Faces at the Bottom of the Well: The Permanence of Racism. He's on record as the first legal scholar to quit a university faculty because he saw the discriminative practices. There's a part of his book I just want to quickly read. Yeah.
Go right ahead. I'm gonna step away 1 second, but go right ahead.
So he says, African American struggles for equality are doomed to fail, he writes, so long as the majority of the whites do not see their own well-being threatened by the status quo. Bell called on African Americans to face up to this unhappy truth and abandon a misplaced faith in inevitable progress. Only then will blacks and those whites who join with them be in a position to create viable strategies to alleviate the burden of racism. Essentially saying, if we keep looking to the so-called white liberals who Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King pushed back against, and Kathy G. Wilson also would rail against. What's the other gentleman? Marty, what's his name? Oh my God. Malcolm X also railed against. Essentially, we're always doomed to repeat the same thing over and over again. Now is the time to prepare. Not in 2 years' time. Now is the time to prepare, to be able to pull back with regards to victories that you need. And I don't mean victories just at the ballot box. In terms of policy, in terms of outcomes, now's the time to prepare. Because you can rest assured that these guys who are here are only going to do the bidding of power. You'll be lucky if you get anything whilst they're doing it. Because if he's screaming that the United States government debt is out of kilter and is already talking about, what's the word? Preparing another big tax cut. You and I know you're not getting any benefits from said tax cuts. So,
All right, thank you, Adesoji. Thank you so much. In interest of time, we're going to keep moving because we do end our on-air live stream on QMZ Radio, Jano Radio, and Mad Music House at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, next up, Minneapolis police is you again. Let's take a listen to this one.
Define threshold. because you can clearly see in the video that no words were spoken by those officers before they entered the door. Yesterday, you said that they were loudly announcing their presence and knocking at the door before, but that didn't happen. You saw it all in the video.
Right. So in the video, they open the door with the key and announce police search warrant before they enter the apartment.
That's not true. If you go back and watch the video, they do not say until they cross the threshold of the door. It's just not true.
I definitely encourage everyone to view the video and make that assessment for themselves.
Chief Huffman, no, hold on. Chief Huffman, no, do not. Okay, I'm not a threat. I don't have a gun. Okay, don't treat me like I'm a threat. This is what I would call the anatomy of a cover-up. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry, it is. When I agreed to work with you on the work group, we talked about the importance of transparency and accountability. And here, what we are seeing is business as usual. And you know this, Amelia. You know this, Jacob. I don't know how you guys slept that night. I couldn't sleep at night. Tears from a mother's perspective, thinking about what happened. I saw the picture of Amir. He looks like a boy. My son is 17 years old. He has slept on his friends' couches for sleepovers. So we cannot sit here and whitewash this and pretend that it's okay. You knew that I was not going to stand for police violence and a push for accountability, yet you asked me to be a part of the work group. And I knew what I thought I was signed up for. This isn't what I signed up for. I understand if you're not comfortable having me continue to co-chair, that's your prerogative. I signed up to help bring recommendations because we're tired of being killed. We're tired of the cover-ups. We're tired of the excuses. And to hide behind the St. Paul Police Department, the deadliest police force in the state of Minnesota, is unacceptable. You all had no business agreeing to carry out a warrant, and now you're claiming that's part of their investigation. You don't know. Well, why the hell did you all sign up to do this in the first place? There was a homicide that happened at 1-something in the morning on Hennepin Avenue. Someone was killed, and then the person drove away in a black SUV. They're still at large in Minneapolis, potentially a threat to residents. But you all go do something for St. Paul Police, and now you're trying to hide behind that decision. It's not acceptable. We are ready for change. When the people voted to re-elect you, Jacob, they not only showed that they wanted to see a new leader, right? Not saying you're not the person who got reelected, you got reelected. But what they were expecting is a new beginning. That's why they gave you more power and authority. So that is what we want to see as the residents of Minneapolis. We don't want to see cover-ups. We don't want to see whitewashing. People are asking very simple questions that have still not been answered. Amelia, you're saying you want to be the chief? Then act like it. Demonstrate integrity. Don't cover up for what those cops did. If they knew that the kid had a gun as he started waking up, say, drop your weapon. They didn't do that. One cop fired and took the life of a child who was trying to go back into his blanket. Any mom can see what happened there. So I can't tolerate the whitewashing. I'm sorry, y'all. We can't do this. I know you have your narrative. I know you have your script. And no, you guys didn't personally go shoot somebody. But you do have the opportunity to make it right, to talk about the fact that you changed the no-knock warrant policy. Where's the evidence of that? That wasn't present on what happened to Amir Locke. So if I'm going to be the co-chair of this group, I'm expecting strong leadership, I'm expecting integrity, and I'm expecting accountability. Yes. You guys aren't going to waste my goddamn time. And I don't care if you guys had your security trying to stop me. I can be used to come speak the truth about what needs to happen. But when it's time to call out these inconsistencies, these inaccuracies, the lack of information, I got to sit in the back or even not even be invited. I'm not here for it. We fought too long, too hard. There's people in jail, including Cortez Rice, trying to get the court to show what's happening in the courtroom so people can see what's going on. People have put their lives on the line because we're ready for change. So we're expecting from this point forward for you guys to do something different. I'm not playing. We're not here for it. We're not here for it. I'm only committed to working on this work group if you all are committed to being honest and transparent and not covering up the bullshit.
Oh, another one. Yes, I'll give her another one. We need to have more of that activity, calling them out when they're having their press conferences. You heard her? You have your narrative, you have your script. That tells us everything we need to know, right? Yes, they are holding out for full police immunity from 47. So can you imagine going unchecked with full police immunity? Pushing their narrative, spewing their rhetoric, following the script. This is what needs to happen, and this is what should have been happening all along. There are so many cases of injustice within the judicial system, starting with the interaction of police and alleged suspects. More so, the innocent. You barge into people's homes and you shoot. You don't say anything, you just shoot. Just last year, how can we forget the young lady who was in her kitchen and the police officer shooting her because he thought she was going to throw a pot of water at him and then tried to cover it up. We need more voices. We need more people stepping up at these press conferences, if they're going to have them anymore after January 20. That's to be determined. And yes, I agree, Ati. I hope she holds her position. I sincerely hope so. I really, really hope so. Enough is enough. And we have to start calling it as we see it. It's rough. It is rough. It is rough. It is rough. And change must come, but it will only come when people are brave, are as brave as she is. I reposted the video on TikTok. I hope if you're on TikTok, you're able to see it and to see the look on the chief's face as she's being addressed by this brave co-worker, co-chair. Yeah, this is not what I signed up for. We're going to stop with the whitewashing. Stop. It's time to put a stop to the foolishness that you all have been doing and doing for so long. All right. It is now time for our business and tech segment. And I hope that for everyone who has suffered any injustice at the hands of the authorities, that there will be some restitution, some form of reparation. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Time for business and tech news. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grant Coffee House. All right, thank you. First story, courtesy of Mr. President. U.S. mining startup backed by Gates, Jeff Bezos, raises $537 million. This article can be found on nypost.com. Thank you for the time check, Ja. Thank you for the time check. Thank you for the time check. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this article. Cobalt, a U.S. mining startup backed by billionaire investors, including Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, raised $537 million in its latest funding round, the company said. The funding round, co-led by investors Durable Capital Partners LP and T. Rowe Price, valued Cobalt at $2.96 billion, according to the company. Existing backers, including venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz and Gates's Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which counts Bezos as an investor, also participated in the funding round, as well as new money from Stepstone. The U.S. mining startup has raised a whopping $1 billion to date as it seeks to undermine China's dominance in the mineral supply chain. Cobalt uses artificial intelligence, including OpenAI's generative AI, to sift through historical and scientific data to find mineral deposits. The US relies heavily on China for the supply of in demand metals like copper, lithium, and nickel used for mobile phones, data centers, and batteries for electric vehicles. Cobalt's mission is to expand and diversify the global supply of critical resources essential for prosperity, first of all, right? Energy technology, AI, and security. The multi-million dollar investment will be used to fund new exploration projects and boost research and development, the company said. The funding will be used to advance high potential projects like a huge copper deposit in where? Back to the motherland we go, Zambia, that Cobalt discovered last February. So let's just go ahead and jump to the next article, glassalmanac.com. The spotlight on Africa's mineral reserves has intensified over the past decade. In December 2024, US President Joe Biden visited Angola to emphasize America's renewed interest in the region. This visit came at a time when China, already a dominant force in the mining sector, is reinvigorating its African partnerships. China's foreign minister has been touring several African nations, underscoring Beijing's commitment to maintaining its lead in the mining and battery industries. Biden's visit also served as a pointed reminder to his successor Donald Trump about the strategic importance of Africa. The United States has lagged behind in the competition for rare earth elements, but recent investments by Gates, Bezos, and major US funds signal a shift in priorities. So, why do rare metals matter? Well, let's go a little more. Rare metals are the backbone of modern technology, from electric vehicle batteries to renewable energy systems. Over the last decade, China has maintained a 10-year lead in controlling the supply chain for these minerals, giving it a significant advantage in the global market. For instance, Chinese companies like CMOC have secured strategic assets such as the Kisanfu copper cobalt deposit in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was previously owned by US company Freeport McMoran. Recognizing the urgency of reducing dependence on Chinese controlled supplies, the US has begun fostering partnerships to explore untapped African resources. The investment landscape is evolving rapidly, with firms like Cobalt Metals and Lifezone Metals leading the charge. And yes, Gates and Bezos back Cobalt Metals in Zambia. Africa, are you have it, my girl? Can you imagine? The most sought after girl in the world. I don't think any of them wife or woman have them attention like Africa. The entire continent of Africa, especially the middle of Africa, from the east to the west to the east. Yeah. What say you, Mr. President? Thank you so much for sending those articles over. If you are able to speak, and I am frozen on Fanbase. Don't say a word, don't on mic. I am going to leave Fanbase and come back. Don't hold it, because I need our on-air listeners as well as our YouTube subscribers to hear what it is you are about to say as it relates to these two articles. And right now, we are discussing two articles in one. U.S. mining startup backed by Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and it has raised $537 million. And we are bunkering down. We are going to be digging in the beautiful country of Zambia. So bear with me while I try to find back the Fanbase space. All right, Fanbase, I'm back with you. Thank you so much for your patience. Is Mr. President here? Okay, because I wanted to hear what he had to say. But Adesoji, I don't know if you want to start with this one. U.S. mining startup backed by Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos raises $537 million to tap into rare metals. Kevin, talk. Go ahead.
Well, it's not so much as it's not so much as the money being raised. It's we've been here before. No, I mean, I'm sorry. It's a sense of deja vu. We've been here before. Now you're raising minerals. Now you have a government that's going to look the other way whilst you go out and do your stuff. The United States government has never, let me say, I mean, the only time Africa probably got a reprieve of some sort was when Jimmy Carter was in power. And even then, they were doing things subversively. So 45 become 47. Is it going to change now that you have billionaires whispering sweet nothings into his ear? It's not going to change, I'm sorry. But those are
You're right.
Those that want to believe that there's something democratic about the United States can keep, living in that delusion. They're going to kill and basically do what they want to do. So I yield.
All right. James, so we did on that so. Okay, so Mr. President, you're back. Good. So we're talking about the articles that you sent over with regard to Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and their $537 million funding. They were able to raise that money as they seek to get into Zambia. So I would love to hear what you have to say, and then we're going to wrap up on air. And we invite everyone listening on QMZRadio.com, JanoRadio.com, and MadMusicHouse.com to come on over to YouTube, Coffee Into YouTube channel. And because we're going to be going until 1:30 on YouTube. All right. So yeah, join us there as we wrap here. Go right ahead, Mr. President.
What I would like to say is not all money is good money. I want us to take a page from the states, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and start to implement lasting policies that impact the people. Shift away from the foreign direct investment where one person come and put in all this money, try to control our government, try to control our policies, try to do things that is not in the interest of the people. Mm-hmm. Africa has enough resources to take care of itself, and if they're coming in with that kind of money, they're getting much more than they put in, and way more. So I said, and we have to look at the partnerships. These all neo-colonial partnerships are not working. We are bare proxies for the extraction of wealth from Africa, and we have to stop that. We have to make partnerships where the interest of the people is at hand. The resources belong to the people, not the governments. And it's time African governments start utilizing the resources for the people and not them selfish self. But I would beware of anything Bill Gates and Bezos is close by, especially together. There you go.
All right, I want to welcome Disney on fan base below in the audience. Thank you for coming through to Coffee to World News on the Go. Yeah, very wary indeed. But what are the conversations we're having with the leader of Zambia? What should we expect from the leader of Zambia? What are the citizens of Zambia expecting from the leader?
You should expect him to have learned from Glencoe. But unfortunately, we have leaders who are hard of hearing, and some of them would repeat the mistakes of the past. Unfortunately,
indeed.
Yeah, unfortunately they would. But one final thing. Hopefully, the new age coming, which is the age of the kids who were born in the early the early 2000s, are coming into their own, and they effectively would be the middle class and the mid generation of all these African countries. They have one advantage. And the advantage is information is everywhere. Hopefully they come across your video and videos of James and everybody else that's on YouTube that is cutting for a different way of doing things, and then they change tack. Unfortunately, powers that be will not let go of power easily. But as they say, power is not given. It has to be taken. I yield.
It's a shame that we have to say that, huh? Not given, taken. Such a shame. All right, one more before we wrap up on air with QMZ Radio, Jano Radio, and Mad Music House. AI to reduce global workforce by 41% by 2030. I don't like the sound of that, I'll be honest with you. But let me go ahead and read this article. Courtesy of Barbados.loopnews.com. Get out of my way, get off my screen. Okay, here we go. 41% of employers intend to reduce their workforce as AI automates certain tasks. That's according to World Economic Forum, which is coming up. And I think basis on them, I'm going to ignore that, whatever. Anyway, stick to the story. Of the hundreds of large companies surveyed around the world, 77% also said they planned to retrain and upskill their existing workers between 2025 and 2030 to work better alongside AI, according to findings published in the WEF's Future of Jobs report. But unlike the previous edition for 2023, this year's report did not say that most technologies, including AI, were expected to be a net positive for employment numbers. Advances in AI and renewable energy are reshaping the job market, driving an increase in demand for many technologies or specialized positions, while driving a decline for others, such as graphic designers. That's what the WEF said in a press release. And of course, its annual meeting will be in Davos or later this month. In the wide-ranging report, the forum's Director General highlighted the role of generative AI in reconfiguring industries and tasks across sectors. The technology can create original text, images, and other content in response to user input. Postal service employees, executive secretaries, and payroll clerks are among the jobs that employers expect to see the fastest decline in numbers in the coming years, whether due to the spread of AI or other trends. The presence of graphic designers and legal secretaries just outside the top 10 jobs in decline, a first-time prediction not seen in previous editions of the Future of Jobs report, may illustrate Gen AI's growing ability to perform knowledge work. So, in contrast, AI skills are increasingly in demand. Nearly 70% of companies plan to hire new workers with skills to design AI tools and enhancements, and 62% intend to hire more people with skills to work better alongside AI. That's according to a survey that was done last year. On an optimistic note, the report states that the main impact of technologies such as generative AI on jobs could lie in their potential to augment human skills through human-machine collaboration rather in direct replacement, particularly given the continued importance of human-centered skills. However, many workers have already been replaced by AI. In recent years, some tech companies, including file storage service Dropbox and language learning app Duolingo, have cited AI as a reason for layoffs. So how do we pivot? How do we tell folks to pivot? Because even if people go and get up training, right, and or skills training, will they still have a place?
Yeah, but pivot to what though? Because the thing is, like, that's why greed turned these people stupid, right? This is almost like like a chicken eating the egg. You're not laying. You're laying and you're not hatching. You're just eating it.
All right, stick up in, James. Stick up in. I have to wrap up on air.
Okay.
I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in online. QMZRadio.com for quality music while you work or play. JanoRadio.com, the non-stop party vibe station. And MadMusicHouse.com for any genre, anytime. Thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee Until World News on the Go. We will be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. with you. We will be continuing the conversation, and Coffee Until continues on the Coffee Until YouTube channel. I invite you to head on over to YouTube and follow along. We're here for another 30 minutes. Have yourselves a wonderful remainder of the day. Thank you once again. Okay. All right, James, thank you so much. Please go right ahead. We are still on YouTube live. Go ahead, James. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's like an hen, like hatching the eggs and turn around eating it. It don't make any sense because these billionaires that are making billions of dollars, how they make their billions of dollars? They make their billions of dollars. The first thing, population. And that's why population is so important to billionaires. The reason why America is more important than Canada, even though Canada is way bigger than America, is because Canada only have 35 to 40 million people. America had 350 million. The middle class population in America is more than the entire population of Canada. So there's more spending power in America. So when you shrink the population with this, because people are going to stop having kids because you're shrinking the middle class and you're shrinking the population. Where the billions going to come from? Who's going to be purchasing what you're selling? You know. So it just don't make any sense. It don't make any sense to me.
What can I say? It makes sense to them. Makes sense to them. So going back to the article, all right, so companies are going to be hiring. I know they said they would also be training. They're going to upskill their existing workers between 2025 and 2030 to work better alongside AI. And I like your question, pivot to what? The reason being, everybody is not IT inclined, and you can't force everybody to be IT inclined. We're not Build-A-Bear on a conveyor belt where everybody thinks the same, does the same thing. It's impossible. So yeah, when we have a reduction, a workforce reduction of 41%, what is that 41? Okay, and let us say 10% out of the 41% is going to, be able to pivot and go find a place within the realm of AI. What happened to the rest of them? What happens to the rest of us? What do we do? Where do we go? How do we take care of ourselves? And you're absolutely, James, you raised an interesting point. When you do that, who is going to be purchasing the products that are being manufactured? So is it a case of them going, excuse me, now I forgot back. It's going to bite them in their butts before they realize that they made a foolish decision? Because you're making all these things. Who is going to order the things from Amazon? Because me now going to order something if me not have the money for pay for. Me not have no income. So who is going to buy these things? Supermarkets. Who is going to buy the food? There's no money to purchase food. Who is going to buy the food? Who is going to buy the homes that are going to be constructed? Who?
Yeah, and the thing is, the way how the article is written to it just, if you write it another way, it's going to cause, it's going to sound stupid. The other way that they could write it is that by the time the year 2030, there's going to be a 40% unemployment rate worldwide. Because where are you going to pivot to? Like if AI is going to take jobs, it's going to take jobs. So if there's no jobs, that's unemployment. Simple. you know? So it just don't make any sense.
Absolutely no sense. All right. Well, coming up tomorrow in our business and tech segment on Coffee and Joe, Capital One accused of cheating millions of customers out of interest rate payments. Also, Trump announces external revenue service to collect foreign tariffs. So those two coming up tomorrow. Can't wait to have the conversation about surrounding external revenue service. Well, for now, it is time for our health and science news. External revenue service. Yes, it is a thing, and I think that is supposed to go into effect 25, not mistaken. But for now, health and science news. I'll be right back. Lormel Skin Food. Log on to LormelSkinFood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you.
Let me say that.
Thank you, Dre. Thank you. And we're back
am
live.
as well.
We're back live on YouTube. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're back on YouTube live. And Health and Science News brought to you by Lormel Skin Food. The real reason there's no social health care in the USA. And this one is a TikTok video. It's a clip that I'm going to play. I came across this one yesterday. And I was like, no, not yesterday, day before yesterday, I came across it and saved it for it. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this one. Hold on a second.
So we don't have universal health care because of anti-Black racism?
So which led him to his second hypothesis, which was in his book, Race Traits in 1896, which was that if white people who control the politics and most of the economy of the United States simply deny health care to Black people, the Black race, again, his phrase, would die out in 2 or 3 generations. And that would, quote, solve the race problem in America. Frederick Hoffman took this theory, pitched it to Congress, gave lectures all across the United States to state legislatures, met with governors, to physicians groups. He was beloved by those establishments. By the way, he was the co-founder of the American Lung Association. I mean, the guy was no slouch. He was powerful. He was famous, and people took him seriously. Woodrow Wilson. And this is why in 1912, when Teddy Roosevelt proposed a single-payer healthcare system to cover everybody as part of his square deal plan when he was running for president for re-election, this was why that got shot down, because white people, including the medical establishment, white people by and large said, particularly the white racists in the South, said, wait a minute, if you cover everybody with health insurance, you're going to be covering Black people too, and we can't have that. So that ended that discussion in 1912. It's also why they came after Franklin Roosevelt in 1936 when he proposed a single-payer system. It's why they came after Harry Truman in 1947 when he proposed a single-payer healthcare system. But Black people, we can't do that. Black people will get that health care. And this is why they came after John Kennedy in 1961 when he proposed a single-payer health care system. And it's why when Lyndon Johnson and Robert Ball were writing the Medicare law in 1965, the Southern racist conservative senators came to them and said, you need to build into this thing a bar high enough that poor Black people in the South, and 60% of Black people live in the South right now. It was even a higher proportion back then in the 1960s. So the poor Black people in the South won't be able to jump over that bar and show up in our all-white hospitals. So they took Medicare Part B, which is the part that pays for hospitalization, and said, we're only going to pay for 80% of the hospitalization. There'll be a 20% gap, which is the gap that you fill in with your Medigap policy now. That gap was to prevent Black people from presenting themselves in hospitals unless it was just an absolute screaming life-ending emergency. So from the beginning through the 1960s, the reason why the United States never acknowledged healthcare as a right rather than a privilege was because of Hoffman's theories and white racism. I mean, they were intertwined. And American racism. I don't know how else to say it. And that prevailed right up until the 1980s, that kind of thinking and that kind of opposition to any kind of healthcare program.
Interesting. I didn't know that either. I learned some history. Did anybody else know about that? About the universal health care in the USA? That's news to me, Mr. President. Wow.
First time hearing about it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm to laugh or cry.
Some of these decisions are really interesting, you know. And the thing is, it backfires on them all the time. Because we have a resilient out of this world, like we just will survive anything. And sometimes they're the ones that get hurt the most too, from their own decisions.
Or they won't. Like Derek Bell said, sometimes they make the rules for you guys, but they end up benefiting themselves. And so, I mean, affirmative action, who benefited the most from affirmative action? White women. So, could you please send me that story, please? It's just another one for my American little tinderbox.
You know what? Let me send it right now because you know we are ready. If I get off, I forget. I'm gonna send it to you on TikTok. All right.
Don't worry, we'll try and get you off air because we know you're getting used to smiling at us.
Oh no.
I just see a star was born.
Whatever.
I was while I was working, I was looking up and she was smiling. I was waving, but for some reason she never waved back. Well, it must be a star. It must be a stardom thing,
To my surprise, when I look on YouTube, I see we have live broadcast.
Okay. Well, nobody's there on the live right now, but we'll continue because we're still recording because it's going to post up when we're done here. All right. And just as a reminder, we highlighted the story yesterday. Ladies, please remember January marks Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. So please schedule your OBGYN visits. Men, please schedule your visits with your urologist, especially if you're at the age of 40. It is important that you get your screening. And I know the reservations you all have about prostate exams. However, you can have a blood panel done, right? And they can look at your PSA readings.
Yep.
Your PSA reading. And I have the chart here. It's supposed to be under 1. That's a scale. If you're above 1, that's a problem, right? And you can take the necessary measures, aka your diet. Pay attention to how you eat. Lifestyle changes, right? All of us over the age of 40. We can't say that anymore because, age doesn't really matter anymore. But once you hit the age of 40, we want to definitely pay more attention to our lifestyles because our lifestyle does affect our overall health. All right, so let us be cognizant of that. All right, so yesterday I mentioned that we were going to be talking about this in our lifestyle segment, and some of you were really alarmed. I was too when I came across the article. I was like, then what can go so in the voice of Uncle Derek, man, out of Jamaica? What can go so? But yes, folks, it happens. Oh, I need to edit something here real quick. Hold on there 1 second. Let me do a quick edit. All right, here we go. Now I can post the link on YouTube. So the article, according to BBC.com, the towels we dry ourselves with get a lot of use and pick up a lot of microbes along the way. But how long should you wait before throwing them into the laundry? You have probably rubbed your body with one today already, but just how clean was that towel you dried yourself with? Many of us will pop them into the washing machine once a week. A study of 100 people found about a third of them, which is 33.33333, if my math is right, a third of them did so once a month. A few, according to one survey in your country, Adesoji, the UK, admit to only doing it once a year. And while those fluffy fibers might not show any signs of dirt, they are a breeding ground for millions of microbes. Studies have shown that towels can quickly become contaminated with bacteria commonly found on human skin, but also with those found in our guts. Even after washing, our bodies are still covered in microbes, and perhaps unsurprisingly, when we dry ourselves off, some of these transfer onto our towels. But the microbes living on our towels come from other sources too, such as airborne fungi and bacteria, yes, that can settle on towel fibers, while they're hanging up. Some of the bacteria comes from the water we have used to launder the towels in the first place. So in Japan, some households even reuse leftover bath water for laundering the next day. So hold on there. You bathe and you save the bath water for do your laundry the next day. Yes, they do that in Japan. Some households.
Stop it. Stop it.
May I read the BBC article? Go pull it.
Recycle. Go on.
I can understand if you use that water to flush your toilets. That's okay. But anyway, one study by researchers at the University of Tokushima in Japan found while this saves water, many of the bacteria found in the used bath water were then transferred to towels and clothing after being laundered. And for those of us who prefer to leave our towels to dry in the same room as our bathroom, lavatory, there is some rather disgusting news. Every time you flush, you are likely giving any towels nearby a light dusting with bacteria from your toilet, along with specks of your family's bodily waste. Over time, these microbes can start to form biofilms on towels that can even begin changing how your towels look. After 2 months, even with regular washing, the bacteria living on cotton towel fibers start to dull the appearance of the cloth. Adesoji, 1 year, you people over there in the UK go without washing on the towels? Or not using a towel for 1 year? I want to know over there. Or not have no water over there?
I mean, so when I thought about it, one question we didn't ask. We assume people bathe every day.
God, Jesus.
Is how regular are they showering? Because you can't be showering every day and leaving your towel that long. So maybe it's a question of how regular these people at the interview are showering. Maybe they should have asked that. I never thought about it because I couldn't wrap my head around this story.
One time for the year. Adesoji, you need to defend your country, please and thank you. Please step up and defend your country. Do not have them slandering your country like this, saying that in the UK once a year.
We have an aversion to, and it's a British thing. We have an aversion to wasting water, not just in bathing, but also, in washing our clothes. So
It seems you have an aversion to being clean.
Need water to be clean.
Maybe y'all just air dry. You just air dry. Just dry off that fluid.
So you say RoSolo, it don't like how the time cold over there now. They're not bearding enough.
That's nasty. I just want to say that. That's nasty.
See that? This is what happens when people are not open-minded. Good.
I know you're just being funny right now.
Moment, say
what it
you
has
watch
to
Chiefs
do with
Gate?
Okay, I'm hearing two people at the same time. Who went first, John? Go ahead, John, then James.
what it has to do with being open-minded. Isn't your nose open?
James, what?
No, I was saying if you ever watch the show called Cheapskate, they had an episode where a family about 5, they use one bath pan to bed. So like the smallest go first and then the husband go last.
No man, in the reverse. So you know that don't throw the baby out with the bath water comes from back in the day when I think if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, slaves were allowed to bathe must say once a year or something like that. Whatever.
Once in 6 months.
Thank you. And it would start with the man first and then goes down to the baby. And hence the term don't throw the baby out of the bath water, because by the time you get to the baby, the water is so cloudy because of the dirt that come off.
Yeah, in this episode of Cheapskate.
All right, we have a Believe It or Not story. We have 10
the baby
minutes.
go first, and then the husband go last, and then them save the water for water the flowers and everything else. No waste nothing.
All right, we Believe It or Not story. We have a Believe It or Not story for you. Thank you for sending this one over, Ja. Appreciate this one. I was a little tickled a little bit when I saw this one. So we're going to be having a gender reveal birthday party, or I'm sorry, a gender reveal for someone on her 77th birthday, which happens March 25th. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this TikTok video.
When you get a phone call that your 76-year-old great-grandmother is pregnant, you know the story is going to be good. And that is exactly what happened to this 76-year-old. Now, we are now getting updates, but it is not from her. She does not have a TikTok page. Her great-granddaughter does. How did she find out she was pregnant? Because she's not just like 4 or 5 weeks pregnant. She made a video with her grandkids playing outside in the snow because it just snowed where they were at. And she wasn't feeling really good. And she felt so bad that she went to the emergency room. She called her granddaughter, who is the one who filmed this, and was in the room whenever the nurse came in and said, "We just got your labs back from your urine and you are pregnant." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Did you really not know you're pregnant? Because it says you're 3 months pregnant." Now, kudos to this nurse because she kept a straight face, even though this woman was like literally like she wasn't having it. That's the great grandmother. She was looking away. She's like, "That cannot be." But you can't blame her. She's 76 years old. She has great grandchildren, but she is due July 2025. There will be a gender reveal. They have not shared who the daddy is. She does walk with a cane. However, everyone was at her house by the time she got home. News got out. The gender reveal is going to be in March on her 77th birthday. If you want to follow along in this hilarious, very shocking saga, I will tag the great-granddaughter who...
Please tag me. Let me
send it to you, Adesoji. But RoSolo, why are you giving the grossed out emoji? Come on, she getting her freak on? I mean, let's think about it. How old was Sarah when Sarah got pregnant? Because Sarah believed that she was never going to have a job.
I don't even remember sending you that story. You sure it was me?
Yeah, you did. So that's again, RoSolo. I can't hear you.
The life expectancy back in the day for Sarah is different from right now, from current time. I don't even have the words. I don't even know what to say.
Support her, man. She didn't know. She didn't, because you would think that you're well into menopause, you know, at least 20 years into menopause. But hey.
Did the nurse say with a straight face, "Who's the daddy"?
Google says Sarah was 90.
There you go. There you go. I mean, with God, all things are possible. And if in such a have this fitness, I would be shocked. Mr. President, go ahead, Mr. President. Go ahead. Oh.
I didn't even realize I come off.
Hold on. Julie said, me at age 75. 80 says at that age, they know who she's been hanging around. So Granny is creeping if no one knows the fact.
So,
listen, we have one more story before we wrap up on air. Or let me read this one really quick. I'm sorry. But I'm going to behave yourself and let's get it on. Leave the woman alone. All right. So in this next one, Regina Carter, which is the Brew Entertainment News, Regina Carter voices frustration over lack of sympathy. Regina. So she's voicing her frustration over lack of sympathy for wealthy wildfire victims, saying, y'all are weird. So on Baller Alert on Instagram, Regina Carter is fed up with rude comments related to the California wildfires, especially as it pertains to wealthy people. If you've been on social media in the days since the Palisades fire broke out, quickly engulfing much of the LA area, then you would have likely seen many celebrities speak about losing their homes. However, in the midst of this, countless social media users have expressed little sympathy for the rich. According to Lil Wayne's daughter, this display of nonchalance is not helping the situation. And I quote her tweet, I want to tell the ignorant people something. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Don't nobody want to see everything they worked so hard for in ashes. Several wealthy stars such as Paris Hilton, Tina Knowles, Janae Aiko, and actor Joshua Jackson had homes burned down in the fast-moving wildfires. Some have voiced that their loss is not as profound considering that they can afford to purchase new property. However, Carter believes the socioeconomic status of victims should not be a factor in their receiving support. And she said, like, WTF is wrong with y'all telling fortunate people to just buy a new house? Regina. Regina, little girl. You are known because of your father, right? Big up Little Wayne, little Wayne, let me say it right. Big up Little Wayne. We're not saying we don't empathize with you, but should we pour all our sympathy and empathy on you when there are people who don't know where the next dollar are gonna come from because insurance companies stiffed them? People have lost everything. You have, little girl, you have not lost everything. You have the means with which to rebuild. Many others don't. I'm a done talk. Anybody want to say a quick word before me wrap up on air?
You've said enough on that subject.
Thank you. The audacity, the entitlement. Where is your sympathy for them? Those who are less fortunate than you because they're not in the same socioeconomic bracket as you are. What am I do? Sit down and shed tears for you, little girl? Listen, man. Listen. I would sympathize or empathize with you if you did not have the means with which to rebuild. Yes, because there are some people who appear to be wealthy, and the truth is that they really don't have 2 shillings to rub together. You know? But hey, all right. With that, we're going to wrap up on air, fan base, wrap up on Coffee and Toe on YouTube. So bear with me 1 second. Coffee in Toe is an interactive world news podcast, a dynamic and engaging live show that streams across multiple internet radio stations worldwide. This podcast brings you real-time news updates, in-depth analysis, and interactive discussions on global events, making you a part of the conversation no matter where you are. With a diverse range of expert guests and listener participation, it's your go-to source for staying informed and connected to the world. Coffee and Toe is brought to you in part by Lormel Skin Food. Log on to LormelSkinFood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils, all 100% natural products. L'Ormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grand Coffee House. All right, I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in to Coffee and Toe Live on YouTube. We appreciate those of you who subscribed today. Welcome to our new subscribers. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the engagement. We will be back tomorrow morning, 9:30. I'm going to aim for 9:30, but if not, 9:35 tomorrow morning, right here on YouTube. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. See you.